Topical and atypical. Unfiltered and independent. 100% authentic and intelligent.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to AmandaLand. Thank you for waking up on the right side of history. It looks like I'm being shadow banned on Instagram. Join us now at YouTube, Amanda Seals TV. Go to the live tab and join us for views from AmandaLand, which is, you can like hear some of it here on Instagram, but if you really want to like see the show the way that it is really meant to be seen, then you need to join us over there on YouTube, Amanda Seals TV. Let me put on my views from AmandaLand PM. Let me put on my views from AmandaLand PM, which is now available at AmandaLand Exports. Okay, now available at AmandaLand Exports. Now, I was going to close this drop today, but I didn't get a chance to like do a little commercial with all the little goodies. So I'm going to leave it open. And there is a world. I know this is kind of crazy for me. Y'all may have two drops at one time. I may have two drops at one time, which is very rare. But because it ain't t-shirts, I feel like I can do anything for a moment like this. Yeah. So Reese Roberts, my mom said she went and saw One Battle After Another, and she was like, do not go waste your time. That movie was such a waste of time. Miss Tiffany DeJesus, you are right. The shirts took my life. I'm not even gonna lie to y'all. The shirts took my life. The shirts took my life. Okay. And Fahad, I literally started the process today of the international shipping happening. I started the process today. So I'm starting a lot of processes right now. I want to shout out all of my educators out there. I am officially a professional educator. Y'all, I am officially a professional educator. Yes, I am teaching an ORT class. And the kids are fabulous, and I am teaching an ORT class. And yes, your girl is a teacher. I'm so proud. I'm so proud. And when they do my lifetime intimate portrait, can y'all just make sure that there is a line in there that specifically says Amanda Seals left the glitz and glam of Hollywood to go become a teacher? Can y'all make sure that that happens when they do my lifetime intimate portrait? Because I really want that to be in the story. All right. I think that's really important. I think it's really important. So here is me in front of my class's work on the first day. Yo, the kids is teaching me. Okay. The kids is teaching me. I'm teaching the kids. She's an educator. Round up. So So very, very proud of being able to step into this space. And it is really honestly only because I never stopped learning. Like that's what allowed me to continue to be in this place and being in a space to teach is because I myself have never stopped learning. And so shout out to all the people who continue to educate. Because you know what the other part of this is, and I talked about this on Instagram last night before I went to sleep. It's like, I think folks really don't realize that they think that they just watching social media and they're like watching influencers, etc. And that's not what's happening. That's not what you're watching. You might have some of that, get ready with me BS, but there's a whole other thing happening there. And folks are really still caught up in this idea that like, you're just consuming disposable content. And that's not what's happening by any means for a lot of us. Shout out to Sabby Sabs. She does a great video where she breaks down how the Democrats lost their course and how they're going to actually not be able to come back. And it's just really great. It's 45 minutes. She was not playing around. She was not playing around. I love people who are able to do those deep dives because I am spread in so many different spaces that like I don't get to do the deep dive stuff like that. So shout out to Sabby Sabs doing that work. Make sure you go and check that out on her page here on YouTube. Okay. But I want to really quickly show y'all this. I'm so excited about the word of the day logbook. So basically the word of the day logbook is so that you guys will be able to log your words of the day that we do here on YouTube. Here on Views from AmandaLand. Yes. Actually, let's just do a word of the day real quick. I know we haven't done our roll call, but let's just do a word of the day. So the way it would work is, oh my God, I love this word so much. Today's word of the day is gratuitous. 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 Now, we are going to be talking about this gratuitous speech that your man Pete Hegseth gave to all the generals, the brass at Quantico. We're going to be talking about that today. We're also going to be talking about the gratuitous anti-flotilla that's happening. Yeah, Greg Stoker's going to put us onto that. And we're also going to talk about, oh, that's the wrong piece of paper. We're also going to talk about an update on Ronak, who was on our show last week, Ronak Anam, who actually got arrested again. And so we're going to get a catch up on that from his attorney, Adjoa. Our guests today are Mark Wayne from Colonial Outcasts and author Trymaine Lee. I'm very excited about both of these folks because they have really just knowledge in unique ways that I don't. Okay. And so I love that. I love when that happens. So Mark Wayne is going to be joining us, and really he's going to be doing our critical thinking exercise, breaking down that speech. Because what a lot of people want to do is laugh about the speech that Hegseth and Trump gave without acknowledging the real danger that it speaks to. So the word of the day is gratuitous, GARTUITOUS. For all of our people in the replay crew, shout out to you. Shout out to our listeners on the podcast. Gratuitous is the word. And if you have your logbook, what you'll do is you'll write gratuitous, and the figure of speech is adjective, right? Because it means freely given, unwarranted, gratuitous. Actually, is that an adjective? Gratuitous. Gratuitous. I feel like that might be an adverb. Adverbs are confusing to me in every shape or form, but it is an adjective. So you would write gratuitous here, and then you would put the figure of speech, and then you would write the definition, and then we always have example sentences. So let's get into some of our example sentences. Leah Mabry says, the gratuitous violence proposed in my city of Chicago is disgusting. Love it. Love it. X Gray Dove X says there is a gratuitous amount of harmful misinformation about autism circulating in the media. Like acetaminophen causes autism. Nonsense. Or that a self-diagnosis of autism is illegitimate. Nonsense. We're going to be talking about the shutdown during 60-second headlines later in the show. And Sarah Saranjoxio says this shutdown is a gratuitous display of government incompetence. Facts. Thank you, Allison Waits. So adverbs usually end in ly. Thank you. I am 44, and that note is going to help me in the next phase of my journey of life. Okay. Jess Ramsey says, I need gratuitous amounts of cannabis to cope with life in the U.S. I feel you, Gruel. I feel you, Jess. Cameron says, the teacher's gratuitous patient showed her students the power of compassion. So this is actually not the use of the word, because gratuitous, even though it means freely given, it's really seen more as kind of a negative connotation, like it's unwarranted, like it's kind of like being extra. So I think it gets confused with someone who is generous, right? So the teacher's generous patients would be the positive version, but gratuitous is when it's like, you're doing too much, like relax. All right. So you would write this down here. And so now you have a logbook. And so you would put your book number here. And when you fill it up, you get another book and you keep going. And you, like me, will now have a source of your vocabulary, right? You have a resource of your vocabulary. You have a doodle page in the back. Okay. You have a doodle page in the back because when we're doing the show, sometimes you want to sit here. Elise gives a great tip right here. Remember, like gratuity, it's extra. Great tip right there. Great tip right there. Also, I included in this edition of your logbook, words of resistance, some words of resistance with definition. So proletariat, intifada, radical, revolution, solidarity, comrade, mobilize, liberation, coalition. And I really want you all to have these words at your disposal at all times, right? Because that's the thing. It's like you need to have the language for what you want, not just in the same way that you need to have the language for your feelings, right? You need to have the language for your feelings. So moving forward, my notebooks will have something similar on the inside pages. This was my first time doing a notebook, but I'm working on leveling that up. And so this is the notebook. The notebook will also come with tabs, okay, with sticker tabs that you'll be able to put for each segment. If you're like me, you want to take your notes in an organized fashion. So for 60-second headlines, you'll have a tab that you can put here. For critical thinking exercises, you'll have a tab that you can put here. For what else? For come on, not critical thinking exercises. For Black Current News, you'll have a tab you can put here so that you can just go bloop and flip to it. And so for those of you all who are wondering, where can I get it? You can go get it at it's available now at AmandaLandExports.com. Okay. It's available at AmandaLandExports.com. We also have the big ass AmandaLanders stickers. You can also get you an AmandaLander button. So all of that is happening. Next week, I'll do a whole breakdown. And in 2 weeks, we will drop the Malcolm X pin. I know y'all been waiting for that. But so that's going down. Basement. So all that is happening. And then on November 8th, I will be dropping What Would the Ancestors Say? The book. Yes, the script will be self-published. What Would the Ancestors Say? And you will be available to purchase it and support your girl. And I'm really excited to be able to also do a live stream production of it in LA on November 8th. Okay. Michaela said they want to cop these for the older kids. Baby, the idea of homeschool kids having my notebooks, having my words of the day, like this is the type of things that I'm trying to make for y'all. Resources, okay, learning tools, etc. Oh my God, Jess, you don't understand. This is a very big compliment. You really have the coolest merch in the game. I told y'all I'm trying to come with it. Okay. Speaking of coming with it, we just had the AmandaLand Summit. Now, over the course of the month, I will continue to show you all highlights from the AmandaLand Summit. However, this first one is a video that I edited together that is completely made up of footage and videos and photos from our AmandaLanders themselves. So I want you all to check out the AmandaLand Summit through the eye of the AmandaLanders. And of course, I did not put it on this hard drive. I will be right back. Told you. I'm right back. Okay. Now, I don't know how that happened. Because I'm definitely like, wait a minute. I definitely have this. But I was really, it was really dope putting together this footage too, because y'all are so expressive. And there was just no this is not, here it is. Check it out. AmandaLand. First ever AmandaLand Summit.
Free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
We're currently playing a word challenge. A word challenge.
The opposite of war isn't peace, it's creation. Woo!
Quality white! Good job! Good job!
Be my lover, and I'll cover you.
So my question is, how do you talk to these people without triggering them?
Oh yeah! Oh yeah!
Dope, huh?
I know.
Really got in the way. And you know, it's not just COINTELPRO. You know, I'm really concerned that they're not going to notice what's happening until it like shows up at our doorstep. Happy birthday! Happy birthday!
It's a Saturday night, and it is the last Saturday of summer.
shout out to the AmandaLand Summit. So happy that we were able to make space for learning, for really expanding our understanding of not just like organizing, but also of what we are organizing for. Right? Because that's the thing. It's like, I feel like people throw around these words without understanding, without realizing that we need to have the root. We have to be at the root of it all. Okay. Rolando said he's jealous AF. I understand. You should be jealous. You should be jealous. Okay. But before we get into our first guest of the day, let's find out where y'all are at. Where is everybody at? Hey, hey, shooby-dooby-doo-doo-doo. Let's take it around the world. You know, AmandaLanders here to learn. Drop in and tell me where you're watching from. AmandaLanders, learn up. Let's go, let's go. AmandaLanders here to learn. Drop in and tell me where you're watching from. Orcas Island, Washington State, Buffalo, National City, California, Chicago, Mendocino, California, Long Beach, California. Y'all are up early. Lone Tree, Colorado, Florida, USA, Houston, Texas, Springfield, Illinois, QU, Queens, my bed in Utah. I see you, Jamia. Tokyo. Actually started over. Tokyo, Arkadelphia, Arkansas, Kansas City, Missouri, Vegas, Atlanta, Houston, Jackson, Mississippi, Brooklyn, Los Angeles. Hey, AmandaLanders here to learn. Sweden, cheers from London, aloha from the Bay, Newark, Brick City, New Jersey, Fairfax, Virginia, Duval. We got Motown, we got España, Jacksonville, Florida, Rochester. Jamia is still in her bed in Utah. The Hague, Netherlands, Santiago, Chile, Delaware, Albuquerque, Madison, Wisconsin, Dubuque, Louisiana, and Manchester, UK, reporting for class. AmandaLanders here to learn. Thank you for telling me where you're watching from. Yeah. So normally at this point in the show, we would do 60-second headlines, but I am going to throw Mark a, I'm going to call an audible because we have the unique luck of having somebody that understands the military. So why wouldn't we talk to them about this Hegseth BS? Like that's, we got to break it all the way down. So you know what? We're going to switch up things today. Typically we would be having our 60-second headlines, but we're actually going to do a critical thinking exercise with Mark Wayne from Colonial Outcasts. Let's get into it. AmandaLand. Let's get it. Hello.
How's it going, Amanda?
We finally meet.
We do. Greg took my last spot I was supposed to go on.
Well, he ended up going on a flotilla. So, you know, what can we do? What can we do? It is so sorry. I'm trying to print out something. I'm trying to do 50 million things at one time. So I know that normally, and I sent you our stories for 60-second headlines, but then I realized, wait a minute. You are somebody that understands the military setup and all the nonsense of it all. Is that correct?
Not as much as Greg, but yeah.
Well, more than me.
Yeah. I don't know. You might know more than I do. I don't know.
But I felt like it would be.
Show anyways.
It is a shit show. And I felt like we together could break down what Hegseth and Trump are really talking about, because I think it's really easy for folks to look at it and just say, oh, they're so dumb, they're so silly, but it's actually much more sinister what they are describing and what the plans are for where they're moving. And it's the type of stuff that you've been talking about and that we've been like, looking at pattern recognition for, and then they're saying it out loud. So for those of y'all who don't know, Pete Hegseth, that's an idiot, Mark. He's really an idiot, man.
I think that's the point. I think that's the point. Yeah. I'm with you. I think it's a lot more sinister. See, there's this perception that our government and its officials, including the administration, they're just some rogue agents who are nuts and they don't know what they're doing. They're incompetent. But the way people really need to see it is that all of these people are carefully chosen to play their role the way that they're playing it. And Pete Hegseth and Trump, they're playing their roles perfectly. Like they're reading from the script exactly how it was supposed to be read. That's how I've always seen it.
I agree with you. And I think to your point, people think that these are like masterminds, who are like leading the charge when really they're not. They don't even have the capability to do that. But let's watch and break down some of the things Hegseth is saying here.
To ensure peace, we must prepare for war. From this moment forward, the only mission of the newly restored Department of War is this: warfighting. Only people who actually deserve peace are those who are willing to wage war to defend it.
Okay. Let's break that down. First of all, warfighting is, if there is a script to read from, I'm like, who wrote that?
I saw a meme. It was Pete Hegseth is the guy who took contact once in combat and he made it his whole personality. The guy he sounds like a youth pastor for some reason, doesn't he? I swear I've had so many, like as a kid, I had so many youth pastors sound just like that. The way he's talking to a group of teenagers who are learning about Jesus for the first time. I don't know.
When he's saying that the only way to get peace is to fight for it, how do you interpret that? Like, what is he really saying?
He's trying to rebrand the military as being this aggressive force in the world. And I think Pete Hegseth, the way I translate him, the way that they chose him to do his role, he wears the tattoos. He seems like he has this youthful look to him. He's like this aggressive alpha male type of personality. That was carefully chosen because he's trying to rebrand war. He's trying to rebrand military service because they're losing recruits. Nobody wants to join the military anymore. So he's there to appeal to those young white male straight adults and make military service appealing again, make war appealing.
Trying to make it sexy.
Yeah, trying to make it sexy again. That's what he's trying to do. It ain't working, but great attempt. Get a youth pastor out there who has some tats,
What makes you say it's not working?
The recruitment's still low, and I think that just all the things that we've learned in the past 2 years about how the knowledge that our military is not designed to protect America. It's designed for the profits of Wall Street. There's no putting that genie back in the bottle. Like, you can't go back in time and reverse all of the knowledge that we've learned the past 2 years, how, Afghanistan and Iraq were just a complete, farce.
Now, you served, right? I can't remember.
I was National Guard, so I never went. I never deployed or anything like that.
So in the National Guard, is there a different type of thought process around what the job is? Because I'm curious if they are if y'all are brainwashing the National Guard the same way that
no. No, there's a funny meme that shows like active duty and then your face is just drained, and then there's like National Guard that has like a rainbow over it because we're so happy we only we're weekend warriors. Yeah, no, us National Guard guys, we had it good. We were able to just fuck around and do so much too. Life was good for us. Like I did my weekend training. I was in officer school. I was set to be a lieutenant, and it was brutal like training and everything, but it was only 1 weekend out of the month. I tapped out because I had a back injury. I'm just like, fuck this. This is dumb. I'm gonna go start a militia or something. Like, I'd rather do that.
Side note, we have to be easy on the cursing because Instagram likes to
censor. Right. We're live on Instagram.
Sorry, YouTube. Sorry, YouTube.
Oh,
YouTube
got it.
likes to cut off the
Oh, good to
algorithmic
know.
sharing if you curse. Yes.
Good to know from when we do our lives on YouTube.
Yes.
Great.
And so when you saw the National Guard being deployed to do this nonsense in DC and LA, what were your thoughts on that?
I mean, my thought is like, I know they don't want to be there. They probably think it's really dumb. And from what I heard about, like when they're deployed to Los Angeles, there was so many people who just went AWOL and they just said, I'm not, or they told their commanders, I'm not going. This is dumb. And they would even, I think that they even like sabotaged, like some of these soldiers were just like, I guess they actually did like some little random acts of rebellion and sabotage when they were doing it. So that shows you where the winds are blowing.
Well, let's keep going on this nonsense.
The definition of toxic has been turned upside down, and we're correcting that. That's why today, at my direction, we're undertaking a full review of the department's definitions of so-called toxic leadership, bullying, and hazing, to empower leaders to enforce standards without fear of retribution. No more identity months, DEI offices, dudes in dresses.
So, thoughts?
So my thoughts on that. So this whole anti-woke train that the military is going on, again, it's designed to appeal to your straight white males, probably in the deep South, your poor, impoverished areas, to say, hey, look, the military is rugged again. We're manly. It's the manly thing to do to join the military. Isn't it cool now? Isn't it cool? Check out my tattoos. You know, like they're trying to get.
I mean, I guess they're like appealing to the worst parts of people, though, right? Like, I mean, I don't know even if I'm a poor white male in the South, am I like, ooh, bullying and hazing? Like, that sounds fun. I mean, I guess maybe.
Yeah, they're trying to appeal to like the worst of society. That's the most, I guess emotionally hurt as a child. I don't know, but like it's trying to make the military cool and be that, non-corporate, back to the roots of fighting in World War II. But again, it's all branding. And I think that regardless of this effort, it's not going to appeal to people, even your toxic bros like myself. like if I were 18 years old and I was watching this, after everything that I've learned on social media about what the US government has been doing in Afghanistan and Iraq and how we're really not fighting for the American people, we're just fighting for the profit margins of the NASDAQ and some creepy old man who went to Little St. James, I would be like, no, I don't care what you brand this as. It's not, what does it matter what you brand it as? It's still not going to be me fighting for my country. So that's why I don't think it's going to work.
I'm glad to hear that you don't think it's going to work, because when I see this kind of stuff, it feels so far removed from like the spaces that I have access to even have insight into whether it's working or not, that I feel like, okay, I might say this is nonsense, but I don't know, like I'm not talking to folks in the National Guard or, toxic white guys. I really try to stay far away from toxic white guys.
You're talking to me. I mean, I don't know.
Why do you consider yourself a toxic white guy?
I don't know. I think I'm kind of toxic. When I get mad, if you ever see me argue with, if you ever see me argue with a Zionist, I get really toxic.
That's fine. Do you get toxic? Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, don't say you're toxic. You're a handsome white man. We're gonna allow it. We're gonna allow it. Yeah, we're gonna allow it. Let's go. Hegseth. Now this is a toxic white man.
No more climate change worship. No more division, distraction, or gender delusions. No more debris. As I've said before, and will say again, we are done with that shit. At the War Department, first and foremost, we must restore a ruthless, dispassionate, and common sense application of standards. I don't want my son serving alongside troops who are out of shape, or in combat unit with females who can't meet the same combat arms physical standards as men. Frankly, it's tiring to look out at combat formations, or really any formation, and see fat troops.
Damn.
Likewise, it's completely unacceptable to see fat generals and admirals in the halls of the Pentagon.
Damn.
and leading commands around the country and the world. It's a bad look. It is bad, and it's not who we are.
Damn. He called all of them in there to say, you're fat.
Yeah.
But this is the branding you're talking about. But then if I'm a general sitting in the audience and I've already been like, who is this guy? Because he definitely got into that position and they're all like, why would he be there and not us? I'm wondering, do the generals that are actually sitting there have any real regard for this? Because I mean, they called all of these folks, like 800, not just generals, but 800 top brass from all over the world, y'all, into Quantico, Virginia. They had to pay for that. That's money. That's taxpayer money to fly all of them in, right? To sit here and listen to this like Hitler Youth speech. And if I'm sitting there, like, what do you think they're thinking?
I mean, they probably think of this guy as a joke. I heard that I don't know, you saw the video where they didn't clap for Donald Trump.
Oh, it's coming. It's coming.
Yeah. Well, look, generals aren't stupid. They've been around the block. They know they're very jaded. Let's put it that way. Very jaded. They've seen it all. They've seen every type of personality. This guy is just another, young buck who's trying to make a name for himself and act tough, but they know better. So they're probably rolling their eyes. No doubt. No doubt.
Now, this one, I think people are going to be a bit surprised at because I have a theory about this. So let's go to this guy.
This also means grooming standards. No more beards, long hair, superficial individual expression. We're going to cut our hair, shave our beards, and adhere to standards. But when
So there's a whole thing about razor bumps being an issue.
Right.
And
for black soldiers.
Please talk more about this.
Yeah. Well, when I was in, black soldiers, they have certain conditions where they got bumps, and when you shave it, it can cut that and cause infection and irritation. So you get a medical profile for that. And that was just understood. It was an understood thing in the Army. So yeah, I mean, this is obviously most likely a dog whistle, or they're insinuating that they're gonna ethnically cleanse the U.S. military. So yeah, it's probably a dog whistle that he's doing to because they're trying obviously the soldiers they want to get in are going to be your white supremacist types. That's probably what this is. It's also to appeal to your white supremacist groups and get the most, radical SS division type of dudes, signing up with the military. Again, I don't think it's going to work for a few ironic reasons. Even your most racist, white supremacist, neo-Nazi dudes, I don't think it's going to work.
Why?
I'll tell you why. Because on the far right, you got two factions. You got your MAGA, right? Who are like they're your Trump loyalists. And then you got your Groypers, your Nick Fuentes loyalists, who, while they're white supremacists, they're white nationalists, they hate Israel and they hate the U.S. government because they see the U.S. government as being loyal to, being loyal to Israel. So that's a problem for the Trump administration if they're trying to get white supremacists joining the military, because even the white supremacists hate the U.S. government and hate the U.S. military apparatus because they just see it as an extension of Israel. So that's the problem they have on their hands. And it's kind of hilarious to see the right fragment like this, because I feel like the past 50 years or 70 years, we've seen nothing but the left fragment. It's nice to see the right fragment for once. And I find it very entertaining, to be quite honest.
What radicalized you?
Oh, you mean, Palestine. When I was 18, I was a Christian nationalist, a Republican when I was in high school.
Where'd you go to high school?
What's that?
Where'd you go to high school? Like what state? What city?
Dugway. It was a military base. Dugway Proving Ground. Dugway Proving Ground is a secret military base in Utah in the desert. They call it Area 52. That's what they call it. And it's a small base, really small base. It had like 250 people in my in the whole school. But I was in the desert and I wanted to go to Israel and join the Israelis and study at Hebrew University and all that. So I asked my parents, hey, can I go to Hebrew University and study Hebrew and join the IDF and all that good stuff? Because I had been I was part of that. I went to evangelical churches as a kid, and they would
In
definitely
Utah.
not in Utah, but in Kansas City. So in Kansas City is where I got evangelicalized, I guess you can call it, and became like an evangelical Zionist. So when I went to Hebrew University in Jerusalem, they happened to assign me to a dorm floor that was full of Palestinian Muslims, and first night I started arguing with these Palestinian dudes who were on my dorm floor, and we were yelling and cussing at each other, and I was unloading all my Islamophobia that I was taught in church. And then after just arguing and having a great time with them, I kind of felt a brotherhood forming. And that was my first night in Jerusalem, my first day in Israel proper. And I just fell in love with them. And they became my brothers, and I wound up going and visiting their villages and their families. And I loved the culture. I loved the bravery, the code of honor. It really spoke to my redneck cowboy side of my family that's big on like small community codes of honor. You know, you're shaking somebody's hand, that's your word of honor, that kind of thing. And the Palestinians lived like that. The Israelis, however, were like just weird to me. I'm like, damn, these people are just, something's wrong with them. Like they have no roots. There's no deep like constitution within them. They all feel isolated. They all feel psychologically they have issues. They have this, they're very racist, which I wasn't raised that way. I mean, like I had a lot of problematic, like nationalist Christian views, but I wasn't racist. That was a no-no in my family. But the Israelis were just blatantly racist.
How can you be a nationalist and not racist?
Well, like in the church world, like you got your like think about like your international diverse evangelical churches, like your Assemblies of God. You have you have diversity there and everything. But it's very nationalist in the sense that it's like America is the Christian nation, and the American version of Christianity is the ultimate one, but the rest of the world is like, you know, they're the enemies of God, or they're not as advanced as Christianity. So I mean, my mom was she was my godmother is African. She's from Zimbabwe. So I was raised.
Is she black?
I was co-parented by Africans growing up since I was little. So my mom was from Zimbabwe, my godfather's from Zimbabwe, my god sibling. So I grew up with them, and they were part of that that Christian community as well in Oklahoma. So when I went to Israel and I saw like the blatant racism that Israelis just espoused every day, like I remember them saying when they saw me hug one of my Palestinian friends at the Hebrew University, this girl who I was flirting with, this Israeli girl, she was like, you know them? And I'm like, yeah, I know them. And she's like, but they're Arab. And I'm like, well, this is the Middle East, you know, like, yeah. And she's like, well, they're bad. And I'm like, what do you mean they're bad? Like, are you joking with me? Like, is that, I mean, you exaggerating? He's like, no, you're serious. Oh, wow. I need to talk to your parents. Like, this is like, so it was just every day how Israelis, to them, racism is not anything. There's no stigma to it. It's acceptable.
It's a way of life. Yeah.
Yeah. And it wasn't what I thought it was, because I was taught that the Israelis were like the children of God. They were the ancient Israelites, which I kind of like later on detected, like, no, these guys are not the ancient Israelites. Like, they're just Europeans. They're just Europeans that just showed up. Like, there's nothing indigenous about them. So the Palestinians, I just fell in love with their culture, and I basically they formulated who I became. Like, 18 years old is a very impressionable age, especially for a young white dude. I could have gone down any path as a young white man. Like, we tend to be very vulnerable with what happens to us psychologically. And luckily for me, Palestinians were the ones that kind of formulated my personality at a young age. Like, I just wanted to be like them. Like, I wanted to live up to that standard of having that code of honor and bravery. So, yeah, but that radicalized me early on. I became an anarchist. After that, I went from Republican to anarchist when I was in Palestine. Like, I was just like, I saw the way that Palestinians lived. They lived the way that they lived. They don't need a government. Like, if Palestine didn't have any government, like no judges, no governors, no police officers, no military, they would be just fine. because the way that they govern themselves with purely a code of honor and tradition, like that convinced me that that mankind does not need government if we do it right. If we live like Palestinians, we wouldn't even need a government. So I became an anarchist right away.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yes, if we had code, like a cultural code, you don't need governance. Well, but I mean, conceptually, that's essentially what communism is supposed to be.
To lead to, yeah, absolutely.
That's what communism is supposed to be. I mean, then it ends up getting thrown off. But
right.
Speaking of getting thrown off, so let's wrap this up, because we could sit here and have a whole conversation about have you written the book? Have you written the book?
Not on that yet. No.
Get busy.
Oh, I know.
That's a book that needs to be written. And some books don't need to be written.
Yeah.
AKA
when Greg
Kamala
stops
Harris.
stressing me out and going on these adventures,
boats.
And I'll be able to.
I mean, I did a live with Greg yesterday, and he's just like literally just on the boat, like, I've done dumber stuff in the past, so why not?
Hey, I'm sure he has. So.
His gallows humor has definitely been kicked into gear.
I'm gonna whoop his ass when he gets back. Rest assured, I'm whooping his ass.
Comes to any job that requires physical power to perform in combat, those physical standards must be high and gender.
Wait, I want to fast forward because I can only take so much of this idiot anyway.
Because we are the War Department. Godspeed.
Room, attention.
I've never walked into a room so silent before. And if you want to applaud, you applaud. You can do.
The fact that Trump had to come in and do crowd control, but like for silence, like you guys can clap if you feel like it.
It's great to see. I love it. It shows where the wind's blowing in the military. He probably would have been met with applause if we hadn't witnessed what we witnessed in the past 2 years. Our U.S. military brass, look, as problematic as they are, I'm sure they have a lot of issues going on. Like, I'm sure they have a lot of problems morally, but they are patriots, meaning they know what nation they want to prioritize, and they know they do care about the health of this country, regardless of whether they're they have an illusion about what the U.S. government legacy is. It doesn't matter. They're patriots, and they're seeing us burn our own people, burn our own economy, destroy the working class. They're patriots. They don't want that. And they see us being loyal for the interest of a foreign country that's genocidal.
Yeah. You
can't expect people like that to be applauding and feel any type of loyalty to Trump or Biden. I think they're disillusioned in general. I think these generals watch podcasts like this. I really do. They're not stupid. They follow intellectual discourse, and they do study. So I'm sure we're having an effect on them in some way, shape, or form. So that's what Trump is trying to do. He's trying to purge the U.S. military of patriots. He's trying to get rid of them all and get nationalists.
The U.S. military. Well, this is a great way to do it. So we're going to watch. Now, this is what Trump, I want y'all to listen really closely to what he is saying here.
Do anything you want. And if you don't like what I'm saying, you can leave the room. Of course, there goes your rank. There goes your future. Portland, Oregon, where it looks like a war zone. Unless they're playing false tapes, this looked like World War II. San Francisco, Chicago, New York, Los Angeles. We're going to straighten them out one by one. That's a war, too. It's a war from within. Pete, we should use some of these dangerous cities as training grounds for our military.
We untie the hands of our warfighters to intimidate, demoralize, hunt, and kill the enemies of our country.
Now they like to say, oh, you're not allowed to use the military. Well, that's what the oath says, foreign and domestic. Well, we also have domestic.
To our enemies, FAFO.
It's the enemy from within, and we have to handle it before it gets out of control.
This to me says he is very blatantly saying what I have been saying, which is they're going to occupy our cities. They are looking at us, the people, as the enemies.
Yep.
They also, of course, put out this, resolution or whatever the other day saying that anyone who is against fascism, anyone who is quote unquote against America, anyone who is quote unquote against Christianity is now considered somebody of interest that they will go after. And I don't think enough people are taking what they're saying seriously.
No, I mean, it's very obvious what they're trying to do. Like you said, they're like poking America, like, come on, turn into Nazi Germany, let's go. And it's just, it looks so pathetic and desperate. Like, that's what I got out of that. Like it's.
But my question is, are they also poking America to give them a reason? Like, I feel like they're saying things that are dog whistles for, we are going to militarize this country in order to give us a reason to martial law. Like, I feel like that's what I'm watching.
Yeah. No, that is what you're watching. Yeah. I just, in fact, you bring up a good point. These ICE raids and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now we know that ICE has been deporting people for a long time, especially under the deporter in chief, Obama. Like, so that's nothing new. But the visceral nature of these deportations, like arresting a mother after she gives birth in a hospital, going to elementary schools, it's very provocative, the exact targets they're choosing. They could do it in silence or they could still do but they're doing it like
cruelty
in your
is
face.
The point.
Cruelty is the point. Either they're trying to desensitize us or they're really trying to like really stoke on a civil war or an uprising to give them an excuse for, like you said, martial law. So Trump is trying to shift that Overton window of fascism, like way over here. And I have two theories about that. Either he's trying to do that to just normalize it and try to bring out all the worst fascists in the United States to join him in this army of fascism. Or he's trying to pave the way for a Democratic candidate to seem normal, to seem like, the ratchet effect. When the Republicans do something extreme, it makes a Democratic candidate look like acceptable, because even if he's just an inch, not as much fascist, then we're just worshiping at their feet. We're throwing their votes at them. And now everything else horrendous is kind of normalized. So that's what I feel like the play is going on here. I feel like this is a Republican and Democrat thing where the Republicans are really trying to take this to the extreme so that the Democrats can seem very appealing. And then we will accept any fascist stuff that the Democrats do, as long as it's not as visceral as what Trump is doing. That's my worry. That's one of my second worry.
I mean, because at the end of the day, they're all down for Israel.
Yep.
And my theory is that Israel is going to attempt to annex the United States. I really believe that. When we talk about this concept of every accusation is a confession when it comes to Israel, they're always talking about sleeper cells. They're always talking about sleeper cells that are, and sleeper cells, for those who don't know, are basically like, folks that are embedded within the regular spaces of society that are then called to action when needed. And that is what we have watched happen on a regular basis right now. Is the first time that I think a lot of people are seeing like, oh, Zionists are like everywhere. Like it's not like, and not just Zionists, but like Mossad is everywhere. And I just have this theory, Mark Wayne. I have a theory that at some point they're going to be like, it's go time.
Oh, false flag, you mean?
Well, just it's go time, and that Israel's going to try to really just be on some like, this is ours now. Think about
but
like U.S. Every time the U.S. backs somebody, they flip.
Well, here's my thing. My theory about Israel is this.
Okay.
I think I see Israel as the mercenary of the ruling class. They are there to do the dirty work of this transnational capitalist class of elites. You have very ultra wealthy people around the world, including the Saudi families. You got, obviously Wall Street. You got, Brits, even Russian oligarchs. I see them all as part of this class, and they need a hitman. They need a rogue agent, a person who's already has his reputation completely tainted. They know that he's a nasty individual who will do anything, any dirty thing. They have him do that, and then they can just sit back and be like, oh my God, he's out of control. I don't know what to do. But everything that Israel is doing benefits Wall Street. It benefits the ultra wealthy in the United States. Everything that Israel's doing is playing right into their profit margins, their stock dividends. So I see Israel as being the launderer of culpability for the ruling class. And they might, like you said, they might make Israel like this thing that's taking over the United States, when in fact, like, it's playing right in. It's completely simpatico with the ultra wealthy here, like the oligarchy here. So, you know, that's why I see Israel. It's a launderer. A launderer's culpability.
It is absolutely a launderer. I just feel that is where they are now. And
I think you're right.
And I feel like these are people who never have enough. Right?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
it's the goal is to always have more and more and more, as we have seen with how they have continued to annex Palestine, even though it was not theirs to begin with, right? And then they're like, you know what, Lebanon, we want some of yours. Jordan, we want some of yours. You know what, let's go and have some of yours, Egypt. So I just feel like I feel like the next world war is going to be that. Remember I said it. I love when I told you so.
I think you're on the money. I really do. I see that too. Yeah.
So how do people do, in your opinion, like, what are we preparing for in the present day? Because I feel like when he says we're going to use these cities to train militaries, that connects to the cop cities that they're building to train these militaries. You know, when I see folks thinking that life is just going to continue on this way, do you have any insights, any ideas, any visions for where you see the military, how you see the military responding to this? Because if the National Guard has already, you know, if you've already heard about people like bucking them in the past, what do we feel like could actually, because I'm praying for a miracle at this point.
I've been thinking about this for a while. For the past year, I've been working on like some type of roadmap, and I submitted that roadmap to the Black Panther Party and said, "Hey, look, this is how I feel like what the direction we need to go." They reviewed it, they liked it. We're going to be pushing out this plan. It's going to be basically a plan for revolution. Essentially, it's called the 4 Winds Approach to Revolution, and part of this overall plan is we definitely need to develop veterans. And generals and ex-generals need to develop a roadmap for active duty. We need to give them a roadmap on what they should be doing in case there is a final break with the population, where the population says we no longer recognize the United States government as an authority. What does the active duty supposed to do? Like, is anybody working on a plan for them? Like, we're expecting soldiers in the U.S. military just to try to figure it out. Like, no, we need to start think tanking and developing a plan for the active duty military and what they can actually do to rebel. And I don't just mean legally. I don't just mean like being a what do you call it? Just
like a whistleblower.
No, what do you call it? What do you objective? Conscientious objector. Yeah, sorry, I'm blanking out this morning. Yeah. We need to develop a plan for them, like an actual step-by-step plan that's built with military language and military strategy and military SOP, standard operating procedures, on what they can do. So that's what I've been brainstorming lately. But the plan for revolution on what everybody can do, again, I submitted this plan to Black Panthers. It's up on their website, the bpp.us. It's on their page, free resources, on their tab. And it's not perfect, but it's a guide. It's a guidebook on what you can do in your own local community right now to start forming what I call sovereign communities. Sovereign communities is this concept where if you're, no matter where you are in the United States, you live in a neighborhood, you live in an apartment complex, you get to know your 4 neighbors to the north, the south, the east, and the west. You start to first ask them what they need in their life. Like, what are they short of? What are they suffering from, and how you can help them. Form a communication with them, form a code language, start collectivizing, and start seeing how y'all can like help each other out in whatever areas that you're falling short of. Then you connect that community to the next 4 houses. And the concept is you have all of these small clumpings, we call like sovereign communities, to create a sovereign neighborhood. That sovereign neighborhood now is on steroids. Now everybody's collectivizing. They're all forming a defense mechanism, and they have an ambassador program for another sovereign neighborhood in another part of the country that's a completely different demographic makeup, different racial makeup, whatever, so that there's an interracial, intercultural network across the United States where we can eventually develop our own parallel economy, our own supply lines, and then we're ready for rebellion against tyranny, as the forefathers put it once upon a time. So you have to keep it patriotic. It's a very patriotic system. And that's what I tell people, keep the language patriotic, because we are trying to reach Americans here. We're trying to reach Americans who love America. Maybe they have a lot of problematic views. Doesn't matter. We're trying to create a cohesion for the people. So it's patriotic friendly is what I'm trying to say.
I mean, anyways. I gotta tell you, everyone in the comments is labeling you a high quality.
I was about to say, I'm like, oh. Okay, you had me so scared. Just wait, what? Where are they gonna label me?
No, but, that that right there is what I think a lot of people are looking for, the real, just basic 1+1 of how to implement, quote unquote, community, right? How to implement socialism in practice without using the dirty word, because like you said, here in the United States, it's still like don't say that, even though
it's called united sovereignty. It's not socialism.
No. Right.
United sovereignty. Don't use that word.
You guys, US, united sovereignty. Yeah. All right. No, I'm with you. I think this is
the Black Panther Party is one of my they need help. They need recruits. They're the only ones that I respect, honestly, when it comes to actual action and actual planning. So like they've proven themselves in the past.
Yes.
So they're my mentors. They're my teachers. I answer to them. So I take their orders, and if I could tell the audience, go get involved, see how you can form a chapter, especially the Black community. Please go and see what you can do to join.
Well, thank you so much for bringing us so much wisdom and insight, and for, sharing even your personal story. Cause I know y'all saw my face. I was like, what? Zimbabwe? It just took so many turns. That was a movie, a film, a play, a graphic novel, and it was just your life. And then we threw in the Black Panthers with it. And I think a lot of people think that the Black Panther Party kind of just ended after Huey P passed, and, just the expansion of the crack era, et cetera, into dissolving, a lot of, and Black excellence, dissolving radical change and radical shifting of the Black people of the United States into spaces of politics. And I get so frustrated, Mark, because we've reached a point now where people think that there's no such thing as political activism. They're literally like, well, they're politicians, so what do you expect? And I'm like, the Black Panther Party was not simply just a party of activism that existed within the communities. It wasn't just a party that was policing the police. They were also actively trying to figure out, how are we also shifting legislation to serve these communities? Like that was a part of the plan. So, there's been a lot of disinformation that we have to, do the work to correct. I'm really glad to hear that you are out there.
The other thing is that there are a lot of lookalikes. There's a lot of, Gazis out there, like the new Black Panther Party. It's not the Black Panther Party. And the Black Panther Party, they didn't disappear. They went underground. Huey P. Newton even said that if they start getting oppressed enough, they have to go underground. And that was necessary. And then they would have to pop back up. So that's just part of the nature of revolutionary organizing, is sometimes you got to be above water. Sometimes you got to go underwater. It's just necessary. So, but they're back at it. And I did an episode with them. We released it like last Friday. So go check it out. If you want to get to know the Minister of Defense, Munchie Carter, and the Minister of Education for the Panther Party, Doc Molotov. So And Amanda, I just want to say something. I really appreciate you being in this fight. I really do. Like, you have been such a voice of sanity, and you've guided so many people from falling off the deep end into neoliberalism or getting so desperate when they see this fascism that they go running to the Democratic Party, and you've kept them centered. And I just want to say that this movement would have been lost without you in the fight. So I really appreciate
Mark, thank you so much. That means so much to me. And I feel the same, when I began kind of getting siloed on this internet, it put me into spaces with people like yourself. And so as much as I can't stand Zuckerberg and his algorithm, I am forever thankful for it actually connecting me to folks like yourself who are so deeply principled and live on a value system, like you said in the beginning, that doesn't require necessarily religion or government or any of these things to just guide you in goodness, right? And I think that for me is that for me has become my standard. Like, I don't care where you from, I don't care what you I don't care who you smash, I don't care none of that. All I care about is, do we have the same value system around humanism, around breaking down fascism, and are we committed to that in a very real way that's molecular, that's in our bones and not just,
Absolutely.
in our bio.
Absolutely.
So I'm glad to be in this fight with you as well. And I know the people here are very appreciative. So thank you. Y'all need to go and follow Mark Wayne on the Instagrams. Also check out the podcast, Colonial Outcasts. You guys are always sharing so much information. And this is where we are, y'all. Like, in one essence, it's the Dark Ages, but in a whole other essence, it's very much an era of awakening. It's the dawning of Aquarius, where people
There's a new world coming. There's a new world coming. And what we're watching the old world scratching and clawing to stay on board, but we have to just dump it. So don't be discouraged. There's no option but to be optimistic, because other than that, you just curl up in a ball and just cry like an emo kid who, in his room. So don't be like that. There's no option but to be optimistic. You have no other options. The Palestinians are staying hopeful in the middle of hell, of the genocide, bombs rain down on them. They're still say alhamdulillah. I mean, come on, like, we barely had our mocha lattes taken away from us yet. So
facts. Facts. Well, I hope to have you back soon, and I hope to come on Colonial Outcasts. So
heck yeah.
Let me know.
I didn't know you were thinking about that. Okay.
Of course.
All right.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you, Mark.
All right. Love you.
So fun and fine. We love a high cheekbone. We love a high cheekbone. Okay. Him saying love you, but me cutting it while he was saying love you. That is one of my, I'm so mad I did that. Love you too, Mark. Love you too, Mark. I feel so bad. Love you, click. Damn. Someone said I'm always low-key flirting. I'm really not. It's my autism. I just say what it is. It's like, it's not even flirting. It's just acknowledgement. It's just acknowledgement. And I don't feel like we give enough acknowledgement. Sometimes the aesthetics are aestheticing. And that's fine. I hope they don't feel sexually harassed, because that's not the goal by any means. But you know what? Let's see how Black I feel today. How about that? Are you ready? Because I am. How black do you feel today?
Don't take any joy in saying this, but we sometimes soothe ourselves by pointing out that love, acceptance, warmth, that these are powerful forces. I believe they are. I also believe hate is a powerful force. I believe it's a powerful, powerful unifying force. And I think Charlie Kirk was a hate monger. I really need to say this over and over again. I have a politic that rejects violence, that rejects political violence. I take no joy in the killing of anyone, no matter what they said. But if you ask me what the truth of his life was, and the truth of his public life, I would have to tell you it's hate. I would tell you I'd have to tell you it is the usage of hate and the harnessing of hate towards political ends.
Blackberry news. Politics. Blackberry news. Pop. Culture. Blackberry news. Sports. Blackberry news. Justice.
All right. Let's talk about Solange. Let's talk about something positive. It's so rare that we get to talk about something positive, but let's do it right now. So Solange wants y'all to read, y'all. Solange said, you know what? My sister is giving y'all something to talk about. I'm going to give y'all something to read. So Solange has launched with her St. Heron line. They have launched a book, basically a library. Okay. And the way it's going to work, it's called the St. Heron Community Library. So per its charter, the library is a new literary center dedicated to students, artists, creatives, and general book literature enthusiasts. And it's going to have a bunch of really rare out of print first edition titles that will make up a bulk of the collection. And the borrowing system will be honor based. Okay. It will be honor based. Each borrower may reserve one book per person, and the requests will be fulfilled on a first come, first served basis. I wonder how they built the infrastructure for this. Shipping will be complimentary. However, if your book isn't in by the deadline, a credit card will be charged on file. Details about this are gonna be coming, and when you actually get the book, you'll get to keep it for 45 days to read. So you can go to Solange's Insta stories for how to register, and then when the portal's up and running, you'll be right there in the mix. So shout out to Solange. Don't touch my hair. It is the feelings I share. Now, last week on the show, we had Ronak Alam, and Ronak Alam is an organizer and pro-Palestinian organizer who found himself arrested for writing F Israel, spray painting F Israel on the side of a church that is donating to the genocide. Well, him and his lawyer, Adjoa Asante, were here on the show last week, and literally the same day he was arrested. So let me give y'all a little update on what's going on. Well, let Adjoa give you an update on what's going on with Ronak.
It's very unusual to be in maximum security for non-violent offenses. March of 2024, he was arrested for a misdemeanor graffiti case. They go to Ronak's job. It's ULIS police officers and the FBI. Okay. Why is the FBI here on a graffiti case? There's a political nature to the case because the graffiti was fuck Israel. It was on the building of a house of worship. Okay. Not a synagogue. It was a church. So it was a Christian church, right? Yeah. We wanted the jury to understand that churches and nonprofits, they get all their tax exemptions. They're not supposed to be political. Mm-hmm. But raising money, having the pastor go to Israel and giving money directly to a foreign military is unusual. The prosecutor changes, and it goes from the misdemeanor court prosecutor to the prosecutor who usually handles the death penalty cases. Initially, the damage to the wall was $40. They got new paint, they painted over it, done. But now they were saying the damage to the wall was $1,700. And because it was $1,700 and because it was a place of worship, which was the church, it was going to be a state jail felony, which is up to 2 years in jail. And then they added the hate crime. And the hate crime was against the state of Israel.
You can have a hate crime against a government?
You cannot have a hate crime against the government.
Exactly.
It was de facto unconstitutional. I think that people should be really worried about this because I know that the separation of church and state is not it's a principle in theory and not a written principle in the Constitution. But Tarrant County was essentially arguing that Israel, the government of Israel, with the military, a prime minister, a president, one of the most with nuclear weapons, they were arguing that this political entity was going to be covered in the same way that people are covered in hate crime, like legislation. The Tarrant County DA's office was trying to set a precedent to conflate opposition to Israel and its genocide to opposition to like Jewishness.
Even though the jury said no to jail time.
They said no to jail time and they said no to the hate crime.
But then
the judge that we were kind of concerned about, who was on the misdemeanor case, added 6 months of jail time for Ronick. And that's like the maximum time you can add.
So the reason why he was rearrested again was to, to really try to break him. They are absolutely putting him through hell. They're using him as a symbol. They have him in solitary confinement. And it's really deeply concerning. Rochelle, stay focused. And I think it's really telling that people need to really see that any specific instance that you have is that you're seeing is part of a bigger thrust and move towards a greater goal. And so what we do here on this show is try to understand what is the small thing that we're seeing that's going to create the reverberations in the stream. What are they trying to do? And this is why I continue to say that we have to pay attention and continue to challenge Israel and BDS and do all of the things, and we'll be talking about the flotilla later in the show, because they are a global force in a way that folks are not wanting to admit. Folks are trying to say that Israel is just a tool being used by the US, but I think that they are very savvy, the people that have created this political, this political money laundering machine of a country. They're very savvy, and you can understand the savviness even in just how it was created. They literally said, we're just gonna basically like use their hatred towards us to get what we want. And I know people are like, the US and Israel are locked in. And I'm like, no, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. Because there's no honor amongst thieves. It's literally just a game of chicken a lot of times. And you can't say that the US is running Israel when Israel's money runs the US. It's just what it is. And in that regard, we then understand where our attention should be placed, where our learning needs to be grounded. And we also, as individuals in a nation that is crumbling before our eyes, need to really ground our identity in something greater than the thing that is here. Because it's not going to be here much longer. So when I look at that, and I look at the story of Ronick, it just says to me very clearly, oh, this is just yet another example of the United States really just being a propagation tool. And we played Ta-Nehisi Coates earlier and his appearance on Ezra Klein's show. Listen, I just think y'all be giving these people too much respect. These folks just be racist and foolish. And folks be showing up on their shows. I had a brother send me a clip last night of him on this one black lady show who don't like black people. Okay. And he sent me the clip. And I was like, don't send me this. Don't send me this. Because I don't consume this content. And I don't know why y'all keep showing up in these places and spaces with these people thinking you're doing something. And he said, well, you didn't even watch the clip. No, I just told you I didn't watch the clip. I didn't watch the clip because no one's being honest with themselves that they go on these places to be seen. Okay? You go on these places to be seen. I know why I went on Jubilee, but it wasn't for me to be seen. It was for the argument to be seen. The problem, though, is that when you go on somebody else's platform, that's not how it's going to work. See, on Jubilee, it's not an individual. And I'm getting to set the standard, and I am still the North Star of the conversation. That's the nuance. When you go on somebody else's and you enter somebody else's orbit, you are now there trying to convince folks. And I think that there may be a noble interest, right, in trying to like get a message to people that they may not have seen. But I feel like it would be much more valuable to coalition build with other folks that you may never have considered speaking to, that actually will be far more in alignment with you if we just started building those bridges. Which is why I was saying on my Patreon, shout out to all of our Patreon subscribers, that I really need to figure out how to be able to get a lot more international folks on the show. Like, we've got protests happening in Morocco, Madagascar, Nepal, Peru. They've been protesting in Bosnia for 10 months. Like, I would love to have individuals like that come on here and tell us, like, what tipped the scale? What's really popping off? You know, I would love to have folks from the Congo and the Sudan. A lot of times the issue is getting to people. Of course, there's so much, like, everything is so unsettled that it's hard to even be able to schedule something, and it's hard to even get Wi-Fi. But I say all of that to say that there is enough of a world of people to coalition build with that actually do share the same values, to not feel like you gotta give space to these people who absolutely are in complete opposition to you in order to feel like you're doing something. I just think it's disingenuous. That being said, we're going to bring on someone who is genuine. So let's get into our Level Us Up guest for the week. Yeah. AmandaLand. We up. Hello, Trymaine.
What's happening? How you doing? That was some introduction. The singing, the voice. We forget you could sing. Like, that was beautiful. How you doing?
Thank you. How long did it take you to set up this background?
This was, I mean, like yours. It's a collage of experiences in life. So it's you know, it is what it is. Just you should see the other side. The bookshelf is, you know, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of placements
here. I see the Emmy peeking out. Right.
Ain't nowhere else for it to go. It just happens to have to.
There is nowhere else for it to go. Well, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us, and congratulations on the book.
Thank you.
I mean, writing a book is an incredibly difficult thing to do, but as you said, the book damn near killed you.
Yeah.
Okay? The book damn near killed you. And you know, so without repeating every interview that you've already done,
mm-hmm.
What is a quick, because I hate having to do it myself, so I'm not going to do it to you. Give folks the spiel. Do that, because I know you got the spiel down, because I saw it in the Substack. So give
I done said it a lot.
Yes.
But really, this book has been like a lifetime in the making, and it's about, I say ostensibly about gun violence and how it shaped the Black experience in America, but it's about the systemic violence that comes long before a gunshot is ever fired. But also it's about family and love and loss and how we carry those pieces. And so the idea of me almost dying while writing this book was certainly from me being steeped in other people's pain, but also carrying pieces of my own family's pain and what I've experienced. And so we're moving through what it means to carry that, but also the role the gun has played in shaping us as a society, but also Black folks.
So let's talk about that. One of my favorite books that has recently come out is We Refuse by Kelly Carter Jackson, you know, where she talks about Black resistance over, you know, since abolition. And she speaks to the gun as, not just a tool that's been used against us, but one that we have also used.
That's right.
So when we talk about the relationship with Black folks and guns and the NRA changing the laws, with the Black Panthers taking up arms, can you tell us, like, what do you feel is the current narrative of Black folks and guns that you would like to dispel?
Well, there are a few, and so there's a bit of a wrinkle in the book where this isn't prescriptive. This isn't guns are bad. This is how it's shaped our experience. And so certainly it speaks to how the gun has historically been used as a cudgel to beat us back if we ever dare to live too fully or too freely. But it's also been used in our defense. When you think about the 300,000 Black men who came back from the Union War, the Civil War, and used guns to defend us from the midnight marauders, right? You think about
and this was a big deal for folks, that Black people had guns. Like, they talk about how now that the U.S. is getting used to seeing Black people holding guns.
That's right.
Are we equal yet?
Right, and there was a consistent effort to de-arm us because there's no greater fear than an armed Black populace, really. And so you think about the marauders, you think about the Tulsa Race Massacre. The first people to defend the community were those soldiers who came back from World War I, the veterans, right?
Why do you think there's no greater fear?
Well, because the idea of there's one thing for us to be demanding a fuller sense of citizenship as Americans. There's another to demand that kind of conversation that we see with the white boys. Think about what happened when the white boys took over the Bundy Ranch many years ago. And those federal agents came and they arrived with sniper rifles aimed at the federal agents' heads. They decided to have a negotiation. I've been at the front lines of every protest and rebellion in the last 15 years. And when you see how armed police officers treat groups of Black people who they know are unarmed, full of women and children and young adults, that's different. The bargaining chip changes because there's a different kind of conversation when you're demanding your freedom at the end of a rifle, right? So I think there is that fear, but there's also been that fear of, especially in places where we had historically been the majority, especially going back into the days of early freedom and Reconstruction. There was always the fear that we might one day take over, and so we don't blink.
Retaliate.
Certainly. But the thing about, even though in this contemporary sense, when we hear about a white boy in Kentucky somewhere getting a rifle for his birthday or going hunting, we don't even blink an eye. But the idea of Black people, a young Black man, that's a different kind of conversation, though. The universal, ambiguous because it's so normalized. But the idea that any Black person who also has those same impulses of self-defense, right, or hunting and all that, strikes fear down the spine of white America. So, and certainly it's a nuanced conversation. And I would argue, this is a different book and a different argument, that there are no people in greater need of defense than Black people in this country. And so there is an argument for a responsible, grown kind of gun ownership in this country of Black folks. But I don't know if we're ready to have that conversation yet.
Let's have the conversation.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think given our history, first of all, I think there is, for many people, and some are going back to building community and building institutions and finding land and returning to some of our agrarian roots. But I think our experience in the North and our experience in these urban environments, where the experience around guns has been very different. And we've experienced the other end of the gun from the police officers' hands a certain kind of way. But I think especially after Ahmaud Arbery, the conversation that I was having with some of my homeboys was, are we, and this is Black people, but Black men in particular, are we in position to defend our families and our communities and ourselves from whoever may encroach upon us, whether it's some vigilantes or police or whoever it is? And I think that's the conversation a lot of us are having. Yet and still, a lot of us are carrying the trauma of what guns have inflicted upon us. And so the gun for us has not always been, it's here to protect us. It's been used against us by the state, by our neighbors, and people in our community. So it's tough.
So in the book, tell me where we end up in the book. Where do we start and where do we end up?
So we begin with, and the story has changed over time. I set out to write a book about the true cost of gun violence in terms of actual dollars. Like, you might not care about the young men who are getting shot and killed in Philly and Baltimore and New York, but maybe you care that we're all paying a price, right? So every time a bullet hits bone, most folks who are injured by gunfire don't have private insurance. So it's a collective thing. It's a cynical view, but like, you might not care about this young person's life, but maybe you care about that.
And why write that? From
the very beginning, I've been covering this for my entire career, and I don't think people understand the greater cost. We've accepted some degree of Black victimhood, Black pain, Black hurt, Black death, and so we forget about the broad ripples of every single day how we are carrying pieces of this hurt, right? It's so normalized that when we see these numbers out of any given city, we barely flinch. But also, I think what we do is we project upon the victims of gun violence some sort of innate criminality, as if we deserve this as Black people in this country. And so if you think that there's something inherently violent and you're concerned about the violence that young Black people experience and Black people experience in this country every day, there is no greater violence than the systemic violence that created the ecosystem that made it so ripe for that violence to happen. And so I wanted to kind of shift it, knowing what I've experienced in my own family. Like, we are not the worst thing we've ever experienced, and we are not the gun violence. And so let's shift it. But in the writing of this book, I had this heart attack, almost die, and it forced me to grapple with and kind of widen the aperture on what violence really is. Again, if we limit it to the gun, and this is about gun violence, if we limit it to the gun, then we're never going to address the real root of it, which is the way Black people have experienced white supremacy in this country. And I think all of this is a manifestation of how we've experienced this country.
Okay, so now answer it as if we're not on Good Morning America, because you just answered that question. You just answered that question as a very packaged answer.
Yeah,
where do we start in the book, and at the end of the book, where do you want people to walk away with? You want people to, at the end of this book, what is the because I think the reason why I'm saying this is because, we write these projects and we have like what our vision is, what our thesis is, right? Like we have our thesis and we have our point that we want to make. But then to your point, by the time you finish writing it, you're like, this is the point. I got the point. But also what happens, because when did you start writing this?
10 years ago, 2015.
I mean, baby, in the last 10 months, it's a different world. So like, even now, like, how does the book's context change relative to where our world has changed or our United States has changed, even in the last less than a year? This man hasn't even been in office for a year. It's
been months. It's crazy. Well, one, I don't think the world changed that much. Honestly, I think that there's this baseline. I don't think it's changed. I think we just returned to the baseline. But I also would say that I think
no, you can't just say that and keep it moving. What you mean? Elaborate.
I'm not seeing anything new from even in our politics, even in the violence, even Charlie Kirk's assassination. I don't see anything new.
It's not an assassination. Charlie Kirk is a podcaster whose life was taken for unknown reasons.
What's an assassination?
An assassination is somebody who is being killed by for a political reason. We do not know the reason he was killed.
His entire being, his stirring of the violence, all of that is political.
He literally could have been killed because he owed somebody money. And until I see otherwise, I'm not going to just make a general assessment of that. I think it's really dangerous that we continue to go along with a narrative that was given to us by the same people who are oppressing us. And that's the part of it to me. I'm going to buck anytime they come up with something, I'm going to disagree with it.
I think the problem with it, assassination is such a loaded term. So I feel what you're saying. I feel what you're saying. But whether you were a union organizer or an activist, there have been Black activists who've been assassinated. I don't know.
I'm not giving a podcaster who was a hate monger the word I'm looking for is the honor.
I hear. No, that's
the honor. And again, this narrative was given to the masses by the same people who are manufacturing consent. So anytime we are provided with a narrative, I'm going to buck that narrative. Like,
I'm with
off rip. So I just want to put that on record.
Yeah.
However, you were saying that you don't feel like things have been any different. It's more like history just rhymes.
It's a continuum. I don't see anything different in this out of this moment, except for the characters have changed, the technology has changed, but we're returning to our default position, which is this society is so bound by violence. I don't know what is new. They're pushing boundaries. There's always been this ebb and flow politically, even with the president of the United States, the erosion of the Constitution, the erosion of rights. That fight has always been here. So I don't see anything different. I think this, to answer your original question though, about where we end, I think my greatest hope is that Black people reading this book will understand that ain't nothing wrong with us, because we've never had a gun violence book framed like this. In the ways in which we understand the aperture of violence. We've never really done that. And so ain't nothing wrong with us. Because sometimes, to your point, we're given narratives where when we have these gaps in our understanding, it's filled in by all kind of stuff. And sometimes we adopt some of those same things. We
Absolutely.
often adopt the same things. We're getting the same education. We're exposed to the same white supremacist hypocrisy mythology. And so I'm hoping that this is a level setting of understanding the violence, but also and not to get too PR-ish with you, but both a mirror and a monument. Honestly, holding a mirror up to this country, but also a monument to all the people we've lost to gun violence and all the many ways in which we've lost them. And so, hopefully we understand how we got here. Because every time we turn on the news, every time we read the newspaper and we see these young people killed in Chicago or Baltimore, wherever it is, and we're projecting things on them, but understand that this is, this has long been a reflection of how we experience this place.
I've been feeling lately, I mean, not just lately, but it's just been getting more exponential that, the fissures within what is considered to be the Black community just get wider and wider. The chasms become clearer and clearer based on class, based on value systems, based on political points of view, etc. So in this book, 1,000 Ways to Die, where do you feel like, what sector would you say of this quote unquote, and I say quote unquote Black community because at this point, Black community is just the Blacks, I mean, because community is too strong of a word to, I feel, apply to us at this present juncture. We don't act in community in the ways that I feel the word deserves. So what sectors do you feel need to read this book, and how can they respond to it?
I think first, those who are most touched by gun violence or experience gun violence in their communities, because again, to the point a minute ago, I don't think we fully understand how we arrived here. And so we've adopted all these versions of, like, I hate CPT. I hate all the things there's something inherent about us. Like there's something just always deficient and wrong with us. And so I really think that those folks who are experiencing it, to understand how we got here, but this is also a book about the trauma and how we experience it and identifying that, right? It took me really reporting on this book to understand the trauma that I was actually carrying. And we don't have the ability oftentimes or tools to name the thing, point to the thing, and then the tools to break it on down, right? Let alone acknowledging that it's not normal that we see people getting shot in our communities, or that everyone who reads this book, every book stop I've done, tour stop I've done, somebody's like, man, my uncle, my grandfather, my brother, my sister, my cousin, everybody has this experience. And so I think it's important for us to be able to identify that, those who are closest, but also people who are well-meaning. This is not a prescriptive book, so I'm not talking about policy here, because it's not guns good or bad. I don't have the answers. But those who are interested in this, arriving with a holistic, trauma-informed understanding of the machinery. And so hopefully it might spark something in somebody who says, you know what, here's policy that could work, since we know what doesn't work.
I mean, at this juncture, do you look at guns within a framework? At this present time in this government's history, do you look at Black people's relationship to guns in the same framework that you would have done at the beginning of the writing?
Yeah, it's the same. It's the very same. There are multiple forces here. It's like we are disproportionately the victims of guns, right? Then we're also at once communities who are denied access to them.
Yeah.
From the people that we most need defense against.
Right.
And meanwhile, this entire industry that's making billions a year, it's fueled based on the stoking of the fear of that armed Black population and that Black thug coming in your door to rape your wife and daughter. And so there are all these forces, and we are stuck in the middle, right? Not in the middle, we're stuck on all sides of it. And so trying to find a way out of that, I don't think this is the place for us to, we're not going to find, I don't think we're going to find our way out of this because of where we are. And the only answer is
where we are physically, mentally, like all the above.
All of them, politically, emotionally, geographically, the way we're cloistered in these cities, right? So it's one thing if we're down south.
You done said cudgel, agrarian. Y'all writing down these words? Cloistered.
You're bringing the best out. You're bringing
the boy is a writer. This is a writer.
Let's go.
Okay. We love a word of the day. We love it.
Listen, I know you would.
So the cities, yes, I'm listening to all the things.
Well, I think part of it is, and geographically, and I speak to this in the book a little bit, and in terms of the broad sense of violence, the literal gun violence. But when you start that kind of transparency paper of hunger and disinvestment and lack of access to the healthcare and lack of access to the quality water and the air, We're in these unhealthy communities that how can we find our way out of it? Right? I think there is a possibility, but we have all these forces colluding against us. You have to understand that all of this is violence, and you have to look into the source of it, right? And so none of this is a natural byproduct. All of this has always been intentional, right? And so I think we need to understand these things in order to hopefully find our way through it. What does it mean to have an armed Black trained population? What does it mean to have young people that feel whole enough to where they're not doing this kind of self-destruction, which is really suicide? Right? We've never considered what we see the black male homicides.
Yeah.
But a lot of that is suicide, it's self-destruction.
Yeah.
Because there is so much hurt and
Funky
lack.
Fresh, dressed to impress, ready to party.
Listen, come on.
It's a bit disenchanting, right? Like there's a certain demoralizing nature to having this level of clarity, right? And I think that but what I'm gathering, because I didn't get a chance to read the book, I read really, really slow, and I'm trying to do like 5 million things. However, how do you avoid kind of like setting folks up for like a nihilistic skepticism by the time they get to the end of this reality check of what the root really is?
I think that there is, and this is one of those cliches, but everything we need is already inside of us.
I say the same thing all the time, Trymaine.
It's real. It's real. But it sounds. Here's another word for you. It sounds ethereal. It sounds like something in the. I'm from Jersey. I'm from Jersey. I say
you
ethereal.
Definitely said ethereal.
No, it's like that, and whether it's a primer or a primer. I'm gonna say it how I'm gonna say it. It's ethereal.
I'm gonna say it.
The communication is when it's sent and received. So you know what I'm saying.
Exactly. I received it.
Yeah. But everything honestly is with us. So I think in telling this story, I think there is a restoration, and I hate that we have to restore humanity, but there is great humanity in us. And we have that pain because of the love. And we have all the things that have helped us get us through. And it's never been the system. It's never been any of the forces colluding against us. It's only been us. Right. And so I hope.
Wait. You don't think there's ever been the system colluding against us?
No. I think it has. The only thing that's helped us get through. It's never been the system colluding against us.
Like, well,
it's no, that's the entire.
A whole other interview than I thought we were having. Okay.
No. It's never been any of those forces. It's always been us.
Yes.
Right. However, we find a way to make that road by walking it. That's the only way. And so in these stories, you are grappling with a lot of hurt, a lot of trauma, a lot of pain, a lot of death, all forms of it. But it's always buttressed against this this wholeness that we're seeking, and it's this fulfillment of the love and the folk ways and food ways from whence we've carried from the very beginning. And I think that is the greatest strength, where despite all the feelings that we can't, it's insurmountable. No, we got it. We just have to understand what this is.
Did you do like early English literature at any point in your schooling? You just said from whence?
Listen, I went to Camden County Community College.
Really?
Well, so no, for real, I went away on a football scholarship, and then went to community college, and then but I've always loved the way words sound and taste, and
My man just said, "From whence we came." I mean, that was.
But from whence, it's more than just like we came from over there. It's like from whence.
From whence? Yeah,
we in there. We rooted.
We in there from the whence of it all.
The whence of it all should be a thing.
Aside from the heart attack that you suffered, what was something that you uncovered in the process of writing this book or a surprise, or just something that kind of turned a corner?
I think in the literal research part that got me, I think I didn't fully understand the guns for slaves cycle and how important the gun was in our actual enslavement and the bartering, and the way European powers, as gun technology is rising, were applying regional African powers with guns, right? Fomenting more unrest and creating more war to create more enslaved people. It's always been what I learned growing up, is that there was this pool of enslaved people that were a natural byproduct of the wars that were happening. And white folks just said, we're going to take advantage of this labor force because we have these labor needs in the West. No, they were creating war. And so there's a famous quote by an abolitionist that I use in the book from 1879. It wasn't the war that was the result. It wasn't the slave trade that was the result of the war. It was the war result of the slave trade. So the war was creating the war. The war was creating the enslavement, creating more instability. That part blew my mind.
They do it all the time. How do they manage to do it every time?
Yo, when you see the level of guns, and the Europeans kept great records of gunpowder and guns going to the so-called slave coast of West Africa, and that how some Europeans would only trade in guns, and also they're African co-conspirators. They were in on this, because now it's like war against neighbors, and so that part. And again, I had to cut it back. Honestly, that was like
that's a whole other book.
It really is. I had to cut it back because I didn't want to get in the way of the story, but it's there because I wanted to speak to like the psychic residue, right? That we were bartered and traded for guns, and so forced out of Mother Africa with the muzzle of a gun at our backs, and then we arrive at the hell of the Western world with more white men with guns, who by law were mandated to have guns to patrol us. That part, and that idea of like, and going to Ghana and being in those slave dungeons, and with the church over top of it, and realizing like the rape and the violence that was yet to come, and that the literal gun was so central in that, and they've never been able to break that bond. So we still see the instability and the exploitation and rape of Africa to this day, right? And would set us up on this journey with these white folks and these guns. And so there's like, that was probably the one that I'm still like, oh my God.
My chest is about to explode. Like, I'm just like so furious right now.
So I had to cut it back, but it's in chapter 1. So I go back to the very beginning. And so my own family's history, going back to the Jim Crow South, where the first murder in my family occurred in the Jim Crow South. And so I start there and then I go back, because this was still 1922 when my great uncle Cornelius was murdered in a sundown town. All of that was also wild. Discovering my grandmother's brother, 12 years old, they were tenant farmers, my great grandparents. He was sent off to run errands one day, and he was shot and killed in the sundown town. And I always thought that sundown towns was a colloquial thing, like, be careful over there. The white men, I found newspaper accounts of this town called Fitzgerald, where the white men came and voted, right, to keep black folks out of the systems. The newspapers of the day said Fitzgerald has handled the Negro problem the way no other city could. And Fitzgerald was heralded because it was formed by former Union and Confederate veterans, soldiers. They came together to form this town with crisscrossing streets that went by Confederate names and Union names, right? Is this magnanimous? They came together in magnanimity.
Ooh.
I see.
Hold on, let me give you a little.
You picking up what I'm putting down.
Oh yeah.
But this is the place where my great uncle was killed. So, in discovering his death certificate, age 12, caused death gunshot wounds, and thinking about Tamir Rice, and thinking about all the chubby faced boys who are mistaken for men, because society never lets black boys be black boys. And so all those kinds of things that just kept pushing it forward, right? The relationship to violence, the relationship to guns, always the relationship to white supremacy and how it manifests in different ways. So step by step, it's like I knew about my grandfather's murder. That was always there. But discovering the context of some of the other killings in my family, all of that was just, ground shaking for me.
I really don't understand from whence these whites came. Like the level of destruction that has been disseminated across the globe. You just ruined my day. Thanks a lot, Trymaine.
You're welcome.
Aye. Man.
I have a theory on that. Though.
We love a theory. We love a theory.
I truly believe that their will and desire to survive at all costs is beyond measure. We just haven't been hip to that. They have gone to the ends of the earth and taken everything they wanted. And it's about the resources, the land, the access to everything that they could possibly, because they're trying to, and listen, you hear from the Hegseth'S, all of them. They're like our children and these policies and what it means, right? What this diversity means for our people. The rest of the world has been sitting there like, we were fine over here. We were just doing our thing and had your thing and you did your thing. But they're like, we're getting out of Europe. We're going to survive and we're taking it all. And so I think until we reckon with that, this idea that, and again, especially when you see yourself close to God, if you see yourself in the true reflection of God, that's a whole different thing, right? We're praying to a Norwegian Jesus, right? So we got a Norwegian Jesus. Norwegian Jesus ain't going to save us, right? We're venturing off to a different place here, but seriously, so I think part of it is like,
it's not even that different of a place, because really the root is where I'm always trying to get to understand where I need to go to. right? And there really is like a root of violence that is much deeper than just how our policy is created, right? Like there's, even when you look at certain societies, like if you look at Israeli society, there has been a root of violence embedded in that society that people are growing up with. Here in the United States, when you travel to other places, you realize like, dang, violence is like hella regular here in a way that it's not. Gun violence is hella regular here. Like people have guns in other places and they don't have gun violence the same way, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that marriage in this place has been formed with such intention in a way that is always bizarre to me. And then what also ends up being bizarre to me is the willingness of folks to just let it continue to develop, right? Like,
well, the letting, I'm with you, but the letting is, we're all just fragile humans. We're just as flesh and bones, seeking for a place and understanding and warmth and your mother's teat, right? We're just trying to forever. So when we see the kind of violence that it takes to maintain all these societies, whether it's the gun violence here or they'll cage you in your freedom. I was in South Africa for 2 weeks the year before last, and when you see the townships, and then there's this line of high walls and barbed wire, and what hunger might as well be a gun.
Yeah,
hunger is when you see the level of violence it takes to maintain it, and the only thing that can go up against that is more violence. But that's not who we've been, except when we've had to fight, and we have, except when we're trying to reach for our freedom, which we have. But we're always outgunned, and our ability to, we can't replicate, and we've never tried to replicate the systems of violence against our oppressors. We never have. Anyway, yeah. So it's here we are. We gotta understand it though. A lot of us don't even recognize it. We gotta recognize what the violence is. We gotta recognize it.
Y'all, please address your questions to Mr. Lee, because we're going to open the floor for questions. Mr. Lee, Mr. Lee. Oh, Mr. Lee, Mr. Lee, Mr. Lee. Oh, Mr. Lee, Mr. Lee, Mr. Lee. Wow, 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 wow. Also, I just need to get this stem out because you said it and it's been in my head ever since. There is a gem in the, not Barbie and the Rockers, but there's a Gem Truly Outrageous episode where her nemesis, the Misfits, have a song called Taking It All. And it goes, we're taking it all. And ever since you said taking it all, I've wanted to do that. So while we're waiting for some questions from folks, after you wrote the book, you turned it in, did you have to make any changes? Did the editors get it? What was the vibes?
I've had in my process, and this has been for the last several years, when I turn stuff in, there's not a whole bunch of thank goodness. Well, I mean, sometimes I want more, because I'm like, I know this can't be. It's gonna be nice. I know, but I know there should be some. The editing process, I think they got it from the beginning. They were very patient. The publishing house was very patient. They could have took their money. I was supposed to have this done in a year. It took 10 years. It took 10. So administrations done changed. I ain't had no gray in the beard.
Dang. Did you have gray before the heart attack? Or did the heart attack give you the gray?
I had the first strand. It was like right here. Just one little strip. And I remember because I want to say the book deal was finalized at the Million Man March anniversary.
Okay.
So it was a little while left. So I was there and I was like, I called and I was like, okay, we're
Isn't that fascinating how that happens?
Mm-hmm.
When I did my first book, you know where I was when I got the call? I was in a military hospital in the outskirts of Togo. That's where I was. I hadn't had service for 4 days. I got in a car accident with I was there with this company, Alafia, and the owner was driving and he kept turning back and talking to us. And I was like, stop, because we're in Africa. And then we got in a car accident and then we rolled into a ditch and then we ended up having to go to a military hospital. And so he's like in this back bed and I'm just sitting over here like, am I going to get graped tonight? I don't know. Because everyone's got guns. I'm like one of only 2 women in this situation. So, and I know somebody's like, why did you think? Because I always think that about men, no matter where I am, by the way. Yeah. And then my phone just started working and I got an email that said the book deal went through and I had to not be happy.
Are you, let me ask you this. And I've known you for a while. I've been aware of I get the, your whole, are you a spiritual person? Like, do you have a spiritual center?
Yes.
And I understand religion now. Do you feel?
I didn't always.
Yeah.
How'd
you get to that place where you finally had a centering?
I got ostracized by Black people.
When was
That was
this?
2024, early
Okay.
last year. I mean, I've always been connected to something greater, but I hadn't named it. And I think I hadn't become, I hadn't become obedient to it because I didn't really trust it. And Palestine and becoming very embedded in the fight for Palestinian liberation, and also then really being very lucky to be afforded the experience of interacting with Palestinians in the diaspora as well as on the internet. I mean, like, I was doing lives with folks from their tents in Gaza, you know, so being able to also witness like such a deep is a generous word, but like is too simple of a word, but their faith is not aligned solely with like a prescription of religion. It's aligned with a holistic like experience of guidance. And I don't think that your religion has to be that, right? Like, I don't think you have to have some form of formal religion to have a holistic, you know, commitment and disciplined guidance that's grounded in something bigger than you. So for me, once I began to also disassociate from the Democrats and from systems and really started to see the way that indigenous systems of governance and indigenous peoples were like systematically denigrated and destroyed. And then also even in like the concepts of witches, right? Like we have this very unintellectual version of what witches are, when really it was just the women who were knowledgeable about the land and how to heal. And then, you know, I'm also from the Caribbean. So there just became a real, once I was like forced out of the space that I thought I was supposed to make it in, I was kind of like cast into a sea of openness that allowed me to see more than I had before, right? Like there was no more limitations. And in that isolation, there was also abundance. And I was able to see something bigger and greater.
And clarity sometimes comes from those, especially spiritual clarity comes in those moments.
All the time. Whether you're in the desert, you know, like that's what the alchemist is about. Like you got to go to the desert to like see the things. Like that's what fasting is about, right? Like having lack in order to like trim the fat and like remove the smoke and the mirrors and whatnot. And so it's given me just such a clearer, sharper directive in terms of my purpose, in terms of my gifts, in terms of just even my intention. So it you know, and then also like understanding that I was autistic, or that I am autistic, and then being able to see that clearer and disassociate things that I had aligned with myself in ways that were not accurate. So like there's a lot of things that all happened at one time, and it was essentially like my midlife awakening. For some it can be a crisis. I was very fortunate that I was able to make it an awakening, and I'm still in it. You know, I just turned 44 in July. But I think when we look at, like when you were saying that on the continent, there was this divide and conquer effort that was happening, right? That really allowed for there to be a continued, what's the word I'm looking for? A continued unrest so that they could steal from. Like we're seeing that happen in the Congo, right? Like that's happening.
Never
in
stops.
Sudan.
It never
That's
stops.
the method.
It's been the entire time.
And so how does that stop? And that's what I'm constantly trying to figure out. And so like right now, like my theory, Mr. Lee, is that we have to get more spiritual. We have to, if they're taking the land from us, then we have to get closer to the land. Agrarian, if you will.
From whence the seeds came.
From whence? Yes. Even in just like, you know, a lot of people talk about like, you know, I'm trying to grow my own fruit. And it's like, yes, I see that on like an economic level, but also just on a basic, like respecting your land level. Right. I mean, I just saw a story this morning how, you know, the military base in Hawaii was leaking fuel into the water system because they had planted fuel lines in the land, which anybody who respects the land would know that's not a good idea.
Yeah. But I think part of the problem is you know, in trying to, it's almost anti-God to me, in trying to put so much shape and structure to religion that only serves earthly masters. That ain't serving God, because regardless of those structures, we still have God in us no matter what, right? And so I think when I was in Africa, and you see nothing but white Jesus on all the buses, and you see white like that, until you see yourself connected to the most powerful spiritual seed that has ever existed, right? Which you're willing to fight for and die for and return to the ground, right? So we're starting to, is there any reforming Master's house? Is there reforming it? There's no reforming it. There is no tinkering with it. And we're not there.
But you still have an Emmy on your desk.
Well, because things are as we are now, as we want them to be. We here. I'm gonna be on the planet wherever we are. I'm here. We're here to do the thing.
I took Columbia out of my bio because of where we are. Because it became, and let me tell you why.
Yeah.
Because I went to a play, and someone at the play backstage was like, they knew I went to Columbia, and they went to Columbia as well. And they was like, so you took it out your bio yet? And I was like, why are you yelling at me?
Yeah.
And then they really broke it down for me. And they were basically like, the continuance of upholding these places and spaces as valuable, and of aligning ourselves with them as like, because I did this thing, or because I went through this place, or because I got this award. What'd you say?
No, I'm saying, well, that's the part. That's the thing. I think that part in all of it, it's validating things, because we're still here. This is what it is, because we could be, I think, understanding that our names, the religions, the edifices of our success.
Edifice.
Right? Listen, we're gonna have to do it. But all these things, but also only understanding it's like one of the Christian things being in something but not of a thing. Right. So we have to, we are in this thing, and we could and we should be tearing down the parts that do not serve us. But we are in these spaces. And so as long as we're not finding our validation and wholeness in these things, because we are here. So how do we, with what we have, how do we turn it into something? How do we turn it into strength?
We have to be drastic, Mr. Lee. This is what I'm saying. Like, I think that theoretically sounds good. It's not practical. You can't break up with someone if you're still with them.
Oh, well, some would argue, right? I feel you, but in this circumstance, what really needs to be done? Let's just imagine dismantling the machine, replacing top with the bottom. What that takes, we are not and will not be in the near future in position to actually do. Right?
I'm gonna tell you why I disagree. I think when we think of we have to change our version of we. Now, if I'm talking about the Black people that I came up with, we are not ready. We are still getting Gucci bags and thinking that means something. We are still getting executive positions and thinking that means something. We are still praising presidents and thinking that they are an example of excellence. Presidents of this imperialist nation that has completely attempted and successfully disregarded and denigrated and destroyed this entire world. So as long as those people are the ones that I'm considering I know that those people are not ready. But what I've been very fortunate to have moved out of once they kicked me out, I was able to see that there were so many other people all over the world that actually do not see great shifting as some like big job to do. They see it as a necessity to do. They see it almost just like as basic as turning over the soil. And they understand that it's a quality, not quantity thing. We also know that people are followers. And that at the end of the day, if push comes to shove, mofo's gonna shove. The same people that I'm just like, y'all aren't ready, you wouldn't necessarily be ready to stop the people moving either. Like I feel like you'd have to, if your whole neighborhood was bout it, ride it, you're not going to be the one like, stop. You'd be like, I guess, Trymaine, how did it work? How does it going to work? I read the book, but I didn't really go to the thing, so I've had
let me say this.
I've had to shift my skepticism to just building spaces of individuals who have the groundwork already laid.
I don't think you're wrong at all. I think, not to say give our fellow humans much grace. But depending on where you're existing, what's being deprived and denied you is different. And so where if, in this country where it is an issue of self-worth and validation, I do want that back, because it does actually send a signal. You know, feelings aren't, feelings aren't facts, but feelings are real, right? So if you're somewhere where you're literally hungry, where they're denying the shit from coming in, it's a little different conversation.
Oh, but I'm just saying that that's going to happen very soon. Like the big beautiful bill is about to bill, and parents are going to be back in your house because you can't afford to keep them in the nursing home. And you're not only going to have to be a caretaker, but that's also going to mess with people's minds. That's also going to mess with people's pockets, right? Then we have the literal war on the United States. That they just did a whole reenactment of Patton to talk about. Okay. We have the war on education. So, these things are not like, envisions for the future. They've already implemented over 50% of Project 2025. So when I say this, I'm not speaking like 10 years out. I'm saying the other part of it that you're talking about, in my opinion, is that folks here are so comfortable that the least bit of discomfort in a real way is going to be like, now hold on now, because these white women didn't protest Disney because of Jimmy Kimmel losing First Amendment rights. They protested because they wanted their show.
There's also the masquerade of what, and this is what I've tried to do. And I know we're all doing it in our different ways, right? I think we have to have fact-informed, a reality check on where we are and how it actually works. And unfortunately, we don't know these things. Right. And since we don't feel them, because there is this level of comfort, especially here in the United States, right? There's this material culture, even though that belies the fact that there are hungry people.
Belie.
Listen, you get all my words today. Despite the fact that 4 blocks from here, there are hungry children in this country, right? They're hungry. So it's not all sweet. But I think people need to understand, because what we think this is in our connection.
That's neoliberalism.
Yeah.
That's neoliberalism. That's why I can't stand Kamala Harris. Because it's neoliberalism, because it paints the picture of if we're all right, everyone's all right, as long as I am not disturbed by it. And that was really a white people thing that Black folks then got the opportunity to partake in with the expansion of capitalism to Black folks, right? Like that's what the post-civil rights movement was. It was like, well, we're just going to make y'all mollified, and we're going to take the resistance from you by giving you access. And that was by design. And so we have all these people now that have done really incredible things in terms of expanding in science and STEM, right? And creating companies that are multi-million-dollar companies, but that satiates the desire to rebel. It satiates the need to create spaces for all the people who didn't get that. Right? Because it makes you say, well, now I can't, because I got to protect it because of my kids, and I got to protect my business. And so what it complicates something that for someone who doesn't have anything is not that complicated. And I just feel that we are about to see a lot more folks beyond the color lines existing in this space of neglect. And it's going to become apolitical, because at the end of the day, when you're hungry, it doesn't matter who you voted for. You're like, I don't have the thing I have to have. And I may be sounding like idealistic, but I mean, these are the things I have to think this way.
So do you think the depth of that place is going to spark that deep hunger spread across, all these different populaces, all these different people, will spark some sort of effort to change it?
I think young people, older people, if you over 30, I expect nothing from you.
I'm done, baby.
I don't expect anything from 30 and over. However, like 10-year-olds right now are the last generation that knew before. 10 years is not a long time.
No. This book is 10 years old.
There you go. And you lived and died in the middle of writing it, right?
Exactly.
So, but those 10-year-olds, they are seeing through a different version. They're seeing a world that they're shaped. That's what I mean to say. They're being shaped by a world that I didn't exist in, right? Like I was shaped by the lie of the 90s. Everything is all good. We made it through the crack era, and Bill Clinton can play the saxophone. Like, that's the time we were in. We had all this Black representation going on. Like, that's what a lot of people, I think, forget. When we was in the 90s, we had a time.
Come on now.
And then
you know what's crazy? I had a conversation. So I befriended two people from those days. I know controversial figures, at least one of them. Kevin Powell. Listen, the real world with them. I know. A lot of people
don't like me neither.
People don't. That's why I had to preface it. But for me, seeing a poet, the Vibe magazine, the way he was going with them white folks, I said, and not being so kente club, not a certain way. I was like, oh, that's what I want to do. I want to write.
Are you a drug dealer?
Listen, yo, I saw in him, like, for the first time, like, wow, he had that.
Well, how old are you?
40. I just turned 47.
Okay.
I just turned 47.
So we're in the same.
So seeing that, and then I had a conversation last week with Malik Yoba, different kind. I didn't look up to him, but like New York Undercover and all that, which is wild to me. And that's just like all these pieces of representation.
Shout out to his sister Suhaila. That's my girl.
What'd you say?
Shout out to Malik's sister Suhaila. That's my girl.
Oh, who is she? Besides his sister, how you know her? I'm not how you know her. I'm like, who is?
I know Suhaila because I used to host a DJ competition show on VH1 called Master of the Mix. And she was the account executive for the company that put on the show. So we met then. And then the irony of this is that I went to an event that Kevin Powell was doing at Le Poisson Rouge in New York. And she actually came with us, and it was on Super Bowl Sunday, I think. And the DJ was so terrible. It was like unbelievable. And so I was talking to Kevin, and I was just joking, me and my Amanda keeping it a buck self. And I was like, whoa, this DJ is rough. And he was like, how dare you? He just beat cancer. That is so disrespectful. And I was like, my nigga, I didn't know the man just beat cancer. Like, but that don't got nothing to do with them fades. And that's not my, you're mad at me about something I didn't know about. But nonetheless, the irony that you named two people that were in this very specific situation, but shout out to Suhaila, and then she moved to LA, and we're friends.
That's what's up.
Let's get some questions for you, because people got questions. Fatima says, Mr. Lee, what's a part of Black history you feel is most overlooked and misunderstood today, and why does it matter for us to revisit it now?
That's an easy one. The Reconstruction period. I was having a conversation. So I have a daughter. She's 13 years old, and she's in 8th grade now. And she has a close friend, little boy who's very smart. They're on the same tip. They're trying to be writers. They're into all this stuff.
Okay.
And they were talking about Reconstruction. He said, "Oh, that was a terrible time for Black people. All of the lynchings, all of the, And she's like, "But no, we were also experiencing like freedom and building." So that, to me, that argument right there, and the fact that folks blame us for the fall of Reconstruction, when it was the Compromise of 1877, the federal troops leave, and Rutherford B. Hayes, there's all this stuff, and all that tinkering around the edges, the white supremacists trying to undo it. But the idea that we were like building a new nation, an institution building, and towns, and it was, and we finally got it. And it was amazing, and schools and banks and all of this. And then it was like 1877, the beginning, and now it's the murder. And now it's pushing us as far back into slavery as possible.
By the way, 1877.
Right. That's yesterday.
But also, like, that was what, 12 years after the end of the Civil War? 12 years. And they were like, I give up.
That's it. You know what it was? It was like Black fatigue. This Black fatigue they talking about is like, you know what? This is enough of this. I'm tired of y'all. Y'all do it. And the thing about this is, it's always been our ambition that sparks the violence. They couldn't stand that. Despite everything, we were still building.
It's always been our ambition for the America they designed.
Well, that's the
thing. It's not even our.
That part. I've been thinking a lot about this idea of imagination and whose imagination we're living in, and that's the part we're existing in this wild. That's it. That's the thing. But that's so powerful, though. I mean, you're right. If we could redesign,
get people to do think beyond it.
But the
I have a
power of
whole
that
character in my one woman show. What would the ancestors say? That is about, like, we can live beyond.
We could, but that's not saying. But I'm with you. But it's like the power of, and this goes back to violence. The power of all those, and we've been here with them so long, and I think we are entangled to a certain degree with all of this that makes it a little more hard to disentangle. But yes, the power of the imagination, and we're locked in it. But to answer your question, Reconstruction, that 12 years, that was, imagine like the newness of that. And y'all been waiting for this and what it took to sacrifice for that. And now we're in the Senate and Congress and mayors.
There's a genuine effort, by the way, to let bygones be bygones.
For real. Yeah.
I know you was just enslaving us 2 days ago, but I guess we're gonna have lunch together and figure out this policy. And they're like,
you know what? To that point, also, I think it's hard for us to get our minds around 300 plus years of these institutions. And unlike the Caribbean, the white man on the hill and 600 black people, where you're still maintaining some Africanism. We're here with them, 2 of us in the kitchen with them.
Yep.
Forever. So our relationship to them also makes it hard to imagine something else because we've been so close to them. We've been here a long time.
Babies.
Come on. So that's like giving us, again, that's the idea of grace, but like understanding what this really was, I think it makes a lot of sense of why we are aspiring to where we are now. But Reconstruction.
Have you read W. Du Bois' Black Reconstruction?
I haven't read the whole thing. I've read it for pieces for the book. Like I have it sitting here. Like so I haven't from front to back, but like
so massive.
Yeah.
Like it's its own PhD. Next question. Isabel says, this is a silly question, but still asking it. Mr. Lee, what is your beard routine? Asking for a friend. Kudos on having a full beard that connects.
Listen, good sister, thank you very much because everybody can't do it. You know, it's a product of the stress and genetics. Right now I'm a little driving on book tour, so I haven't been doing what I'm supposed to be doing, but usually it's like conditioning every other day and making sure I don't overdo it too much. I don't want my face and my skin. I don't want stuff on my skin. Mm-hmm. So I try to keep a very light oil around the way in Brooklyn. So it's, you know, some sort of a combination of those essentials, nothing too smelly, but conditioning and, you know, moisturizing.
All right.
Moisturizing.
All right. Last question. Mr. Lee, any advice for writers like myself who are strong on these topics as well on where we can find truthful sources?
I think depending on what you're trying to do with this, right? I think contemporaneous accounts of things help you understand. Getting all of them today. Contemporaneous accounts, if you want to understand how people were experiencing a thing. So when we're talking about Reconstruction, we're talking about violence, go read the newspaper accounts of it. Now, again, they were also through the filter of white supremacists and racists, but I think it's important to understand what was actually happening then. Otherwise, you know, there are a bunch of reputable history books. Depends on what you're talking about. So it's hard to answer that question.
But archives, I think, is the easiest way to answer that question. Just in general, like first person accounts are always the best. And then at the very least, getting an actual record of the time. And, that's why you have someone like Donald Trump trying so hard to affect the way that our archives exist in the United States because they tell the truth of the time.
That's the answer.
And so there are archives all over this place. But if you don't know about archives, you don't think about archives.
Yo, that's the one thing that discovering, like, obviously there are some limitations on the records for Black Americans, right? Because there's certain points, whatever. But there are so many records in courthouses. For a whole different project, I was in Louisiana in the basement of this Tangipahoa Parish courthouse. And the documents that are there, every sale, every deed, every marriage license. So sometimes we're cutting ourselves short because you don't know where to go. A lot of these towns or the National Registry, the federal archives.
Yes.
There's a lot of information there but you have to go and search.
And like a lot of there were old Black newspapers, so like they have archives a lot of times. Like the Black Panthers, their archives are held at the University of New Mexico, I believe. So it's also about finding out where archives are held for different folks and for different organizations, et cetera. But the concept of archives are usually inclusive of like letters, writings, newspaper clippings, etc. Like my mother is an archivalist for Amanda Seals. I mean, you guys, if you want anything, you can just go to our house.
You know, I'm saying also so there's the archives, like all the documentation, but there are also like census records. All those records help you tell the story of a specific place and time. And so from my great grandparents who came from rural Georgia to New Jersey, they arrived in a community full of other Georgians. And I know that because of the census records. And even after the point they arrived, they'll say where they were born, right? So where were they born? Are they literate? So then you can go back to there. And so there's the contemporaneous accounts of what was happening in space, but also knowing who was there and how they got there and when. That's also helpful in helping to shape the story.
Something to just give you all some context to before we go. We had an archivalist on the show earlier this year, so look for that episode. And also, if you listen to the genealogy episode that we did of Small Doses podcast, like genealogists use archives to map together like the story of you. So, like you said, census records, like job, like especially if people held like positions in government positions, etc. Like and newspaper clippings. So like they'll find a newspaper clipping of an obituary, you know, things like this. Will, and then the obituary will tell you something.
The church, it'll be like, oh, this church, which is Mount Carmel, something. Now you go to Mount Carmel. Now they have the records. Now you come on now. That's I get excited about this. This is my place. So I start getting a little. Okay, there we go. I like that.
I like that. Well, we are very happy to have you, and thank you so much for the work that you're doing. And it is really so necessary. You all go and purchase 1,000 Ways to Die. Is there an audiobook?
There is an audiobook, and I narrated myself.
Okay. For the record, even though Columbia is trash, I commend you on your Pulitzer.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. This was also, man, I was looking forward to this. This was even better than I can expect it. So thank you for having me on your platform. Seriously, thank you.
Oh, thank you. You're very delightful and you're brilliant. So we know we love delightful and brilliant, and we love a good beard. So
there we go.
You also have perfect hands. Show your hands to the people.
Thank you.
Yeah, you have perfect hands. So if this writing thing doesn't work out, you know, actually you held the pen the entire time so you could model pens.
Hey, listen, here we go. You like that? There we go. There we go.
Fight said this man has yet to put that pen down.
Listen, I got all kind of weird little stuff. I have to when I'm talking, I just be having stuff to, like, I don't know. Otherwise, it's just gonna be like this, you know.
Oh no. You're right. We'll take the pen. Well, we're gonna go out. We're gonna support. And any ideas for the next project? Or are you just like, I did enough? Because
I got some
also
ideas.
Fine.
Not for now. I do need to exhale and breathe. I'm very tired. I'm filled spiritually and emotionally. I've been dealing with people all across the country and giving my story. What, across the country, people?
No, just having a listen. I'm about to go on a book tour, and it's a lot of output.
But you know what though? I mean, again, depending on how you structure me, it's like every single book, every single signature. I'm looking at their face. I just feel like that they came and won a piece. It doesn't matter. I just love that. I'm filled by it because I'm still shocked. Like this whole trajectory of life, but also career, did not have to be this way. So I'm like in a spirit and season of gratitude and thankfulness. It's like I will go somewhere 4 people. What's up? Thank you. I appreciate you. So
whenever I have the 4 people, everyone has to say their name and their sign. We're gonna get friendly. Well, I'm glad to see that it's a lot more than 4 people, and this is the information that people need to understand. Like you said, it's not our fault. It's like that scene in Good Will Hunting. It's not your fault.
That's right.
It's not your fault.
That's right.
It's not your fault. I just watched it the other day again. Trymaine, you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you too. Let's do this again sometime.
Yes, sir. Can nobody say I don't have good guests? God damn it. You know what? Let's just keep going. And let me show y'all the guests I had on Small Doses podcast this week. Fiona Compton of Know Your Caribbean on the Instagrams. And we talked about side effects of the Caribbean diaspora. What is the biggest misconception you feel people have about the Caribbean diaspora?
Oh, it is just wine and eat your chicken. I don't know. To be serious, I think that's looking at us as a monolith, that we only speak a certain way, dance a certain way, and not realizing just like how multicultural the Caribbean is. Some of the things that we love about the Caribbean reflect our diversity. Even the stereotype, the smoking weed endless, that comes from our Indian indentured laborers who came in after slavery. Roti, same thing, come from some of our biggest artists like Shensia. She's of Chinese Jamaican heritage.
What is one thing you said in this episode that you would stand 10 toes down on?
Within the Caribbean story and the Black American story, that we are so deeply interconnected in a positive way. Our histories are so intertwined that we should be celebrating that and not fighting.
60-second headline. And I run down some news right quick.
Run it down, mama. Put us on.
Let's get into our 60-second headlines. I know the show is a little bit out of order today, but I'm hoping that you're keeping up. If you're just joining us, it's 12:30 Eastern right here at Views from AmandaLand. Thank you for waking up on the right side of history. Remember, after the show, we will have our Patreon hangout. Yes, the after show kickback is going down. All you got to do is subscribe to Patreon to be a part of the after show kickback. It is a $5 subscription. And when you subscribe, you're supporting my work. You're supporting the efforts that I commit to every day to educating and to entertaining and to bringing art to you and yours. And so I really appreciate all of you all who are members of the SEAL Squad. And, you know, someone over here on the Instagram says they support Kamala. And I love that someone else said, Shamala and the Democrats would deliver nothing to you. Exactly. Now, if she was out here on the book tour and it was a free book, I wouldn't have nothing to say. If she was out here on the book tour and the book talks about the ways in which that she was held back from doing the things that need to be done and then said the things that need to be done, I wouldn't have nothing to say. Now, when I head out on my book tour in 4 weeks to talk to you all and to perform segments of What Would the Ancestors Say, I hope that you will come and join me because it is self-published and I am speaking about the ways in which I feel that we have to shift to meet the moment and to meet our responsibility as ancestors in the future. And so I'm looking forward to being able to be out there with you all and sharing this work with you that I've put so much work into that I have to start memorizing today because it is August 1st. So and again, yes, Kamala has enough AIPAC money. She shouldn't need none of your money. I'm going to just let that sit real quick. Okay. Let's get into our 60-second headlines. So I don't know if you all know this, but the government done shut down. Yeah, the government is shut down. I don't know if anything changed while I've been on air, but as of last night, the government was shut down. And it's really the first show of any kind of backbone by the Democrats. I mean, previous to the government shutting down, you had this guy, Chuck Schumer, and Hakeem Jeffries saying, you know, I hope the Democrats will do the right thing. I mean, the Republicans. I hope the Republicans will do the right thing. Mind you, the Republicans are like, go F yourself. The reason why this is shut down is because the Republicans and Democrats both presented proposals that would have funded the government past Tuesday, but they failed in the Senate during the 11th hour. So the government ran out of money. So basically what happens is there's a budget and the Congress controls the purse strings of our United States budget. They determine where the money that is gathered in the federal coffer is allocated. Okay, that money funds different programs. It funds different subsidies for different states. It also pays civil service workers. And that goes from everyone from the janitors to the air traffic controllers. Now, because the government has shut down, there's going to be a number of civil workers who are not going to work right now. They are currently furloughed. So not only are they not working, they're not getting paid. However, there are essential service workers like the air traffic controllers who are already overworked and understaffed, who are now not being paid. Yeah, they're not being paid right now to work, but they still come to work. Now, essentially what was happening here is that the Republicans had a budget that continued to do what they keep doing, which is undermining any effort at taxing the rich and also continuing to just diminish the Affordable Care Act that allows, I can never remember if it's Medicare or Medicaid, but that gives healthcare support to Americans. Democrats were like, okay, yeah, we kind of can't let you keep doing that. So they had a budget that extended healthcare subsidies under the Affordable Care Act and reverse cuts to Medicaid. But these, of course, failed because the GOP was like, nah, we're not going to do it. So following these votes, Budget Director Russell Vought, who is one of the creators of Project 2025, said that we should now execute their plans for an orderly shutdown. Now, this is also an effort of Republicans to send a message of, you see, they're shutting down the government. It's their fault, not our fault, which is why you should trust us. And this is them doing on a major government level what they have been doing with what they've been doing on lower program levels, which is creating a narrative, a manufactured consent for private equity. Let's hear. I know twice in one show is a lot, but it is what it is.
The state of the Democrat Party when they have a 33% favorability rating on average in recent months, and they're willing to shut down the government over healthcare.
They are shutting it down. We're not shutting it down. We don't want it to shut down because we have the greatest period of time ever. I told you, we have $17 trillion being invested. So the last person that wants it shut down is us. Now, with that being said, we can do things during the shutdown that are irreversible, that are bad for them and irreversible by them, like cutting vast numbers of people out, cutting things that they like, cutting programs that they like. And you all know Russell Vought. He's become very popular recently because he can trim the budget to a level that you couldn't do any other way. So they're taking a risk by having a shutdown because of the shutdown, we can do things medically and other ways, including benefits. We can cut large numbers of people out. We don't want to do that, but we don't want fraud, waste, and abuse. And, we're cutting that. But they want to have illegal aliens come into our country and get massive health care at the cost to everybody else, and we don't have it. And that's I would say, the number one reason that they want to strike is to get illegal immigrants health care. And, Gavin Newsom wants that, too, in California, and it's destroying California.
Okay, so first of all, that's not true because we don't have health care in this country in a massive way for anyone, let alone immigrants. So there's that. Second, if we have $17 trillion, this might be making up numbers. You know how little kids be like, I want 70 gajillion dollars. Like, that's how this man be talking. So if there's $17 trillion, then why is there not enough money to make sure that people are being cared for? Third, immigrants who come to this country do not sit on their butts. So that's the part that really pisses me off, is this narrative that immigrants come to this country to only take. When immigrants come to this country, they are always giving into the country, whether it's through service, whether it's through, literally it's through service jobs, whether it's caretaking, whether it is food service, whether it is going to school and becoming a part of the essential worker force. I mean, there's so many ways. Whether it's coming as skilled workers in agriculture, in construction, it's just beyond anything that we can actually quantify. So to then make this narrative, and I see Black Americans also supporting this narrative, which is so deeply problematic because they're just talking about immigrants the same way they was talking about us. They're making immigrants Sambos? Where? Where? I'm not saying that there aren't individual folks that be trying to leech off systems, but you know what? Why not? Pimp the system. It's pimping you. So that narrative is incredibly problematic. And this whole idea of creating some homogenous society is 1000% nonsensical and actually doesn't lean into the reality that it's never been a homogenous society here in the United States, ever. The other part of this is that this man also just sent billions of dollars. Okay. He just sent billions of dollars to, who did he give billions of dollars to the other day? Who did this man just give billions of dollars to the other day? To Argentina. Because Argentina has their own version of Trump, and that guy is also not willing to tax the rich. And so you've had unrest in Argentina for the past how many months, because the way that they decided that they were going to pay for the things they needed to pay for was to take the pension away from the elder Argentinians. And the elder Argentinians came in the streets and was like, nah, hell nah. And you know, they beat up them old people. They beat up the old people. So then the soccer players came out and was like, y'all ain't gonna beat up the old people. And you know, the soccer fans in Argentina are not a game. Okay? They're not a game. So they're over there doing all the fighting back, saying we're not having it, because they already see that if you try to take the pension away from the old people, then this is gonna only dovetail and snowball into something greater. Here in the United States, we still don't seem to see that. We don't, because there's so much main character energy here that folks think, well, yeah, they're taking it from the poor, but I'm not poor, so it's fine. It's not my real problem. And it really is your problem. And the fact that the government is shut down right now is deeply disturbing. The Senate Majority Leader, by the way, who is a Republican from South Dakota, is like, yeah, I'm actually like not going to negotiate with the Dems. So Chuck Schumer is like, well, you know, we need to negotiate. So where are we? This is an impasse. This is an impasse. And this is yet another tool that they are using to try to tank the economy and create a real crisis that causes unrest that they can then manipulate into their own power grab. It's happening in a very real way. Speaking of immigration, Dr. Ian in Iowa, let's talk about it. So Dr. Ian is a brother in Iowa who was the superintendent of Des Moines Public Schools, and apparently has been arrested by he has been arrested by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement on Friday, September 26th, and he faces deportation. Now, for the record, there's been hella stories that they're saying are not true, are true, etc. But the bottom line story is, was the man here illegally? No, he actually had an ankle bracelet on. Now they're trying to come out and say, well, he didn't really have a PhD like he said he did, et cetera, et cetera. And this is in the Des Moines Register. Like they are always trying to do all of this extra work because the bottom line isn't enough of a bottom line. And I just looked over at my Instagram Live and Mark is over there trolling me. Thank you, Dr. Hill. And please text me the name of that book. I still forgot the name of the book that you told me yesterday. So the bottom line is that this man had an ankle bracelet on. He was still here. But y'all, the kids, is treating him like Mr. Clark. Okay? And if you don't know the reference, I don't know what to tell you.
Happening right now, students have organized a walkout in Merrill Middle School here in Des Moines for Dr. Ian Roberts, the former superintendent of Des Moines Public Schools, who was detained by ICE on Friday and has officially resigned as of today.
Lean on me when you're not strong. I'll be your strength. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Fair East Side. Mr. Clark, but who gonna take care of the school if you gone, Mr. Clark? Is it crack? Man, listen. Now, by the way, I have no idea what the kids were chanting, but they were out there in numbers. Now, Dr. Ian Clark was apparently missing in action and no one knew where he was, but it seems like they have found where he is. And ultimately, Iowa is acting up. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I used to think Iowa stood for idiots out walking around because my aunt's white husband used to say that. But Iowa, when I saw the forums that they were having, Iowa not dummies. I guess, they're always politically charged by nature of them being the Iowa caucus and being such an important part of the campaigning that happens in this country, that they really are not dummies out there. So I'm really happy that the Merrill School has decided to take up this mantle. I was happy to see that it was being reported on as well. And we are going to keep tabs on what's going on with Mr. Clark. Mr. Clark is also Jamaican. And so I have a feeling... that it's going to be back to yard for Mr. Clark. But, all you're going back home, I just hope that you're able to bring the strength that you got here in the States back home and rebuild home. If they end up sending these people back home, rebuild home. Rebuild home. Because this place is a sinking ship, So if you get off this ship and don't end up in a CCOT prison, or if they don't come where Abrego Garcia we got some good news today that they did put a stop on the attempt to send our brother Mahmoud Khalil and any other protesters, school protesters. They can't deport them. A judge put a stop to that. So we'll see how long that continues, the stop. But that was something that I just read this morning. So, last story that I want to give you an update on is the flotilla, the Freedom Flotilla. All right. So let's get an update from Thiago Avila. Again, they're 7 hours ahead of us. So if I am behind on updates, because I've been doing the show for the past few hours, and I apologize, but this was the last message that I saw from Thiago.
Hello, everyone. I'm Thiago Avila from the steering committee of the Global Summud Flotilla. Our non-violent humanitarian solidarity action to break the siege of Gaza and to create a people's humanitarian corridor is now 118 nautical miles away from Gaza, which means that we passed the milestone of 150 nautical miles where we heard Israeli media saying that we will be intercepted by military vessels. We actually had an encounter with an Israeli military vessel that made an intimidatory attack and a cyber attack on our boat. He was circling the Alma boat, and then he was circling the Sirius boat. It created a lot of damage to our devices here. We're still having a lot of navigation and connectivity issues here because of this boat, but we keep on going. And right now, we just passed the 120 nautical miles that we heard from also, again, Israeli media and even the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, that they could be doing a naval blockade in that area. So we are proceeding. We know that we have international law on our side. We know that we have the social majorities of the world cheering for us, and we are receiving every minute the videos and the mobilization that is happening in Gaza because of the Global Summud Flotilla. This is the biggest attempt ever to break the siege. We have now 41 boats heading to Gaza to do the historical mission. So we continue proceeding. We are only 8 nautical miles away from the place where the Madeleine was intercepted with us on board 3.5 months ago. But we do not want to be intercepted. We know that an interception in international waters, an interception even in Palestinian territorial waters, is completely against the law. So we keep on proceeding. We keep on training our participants for in any scenario they remain non-violent. That is our commitment, not only to ourselves to de-escalate and improve the chances of everybody returning alive with the physical integrity and free, but it's our commitment to the world. The international community has entrusted us this task to open the way of the humanitarian corridor, to create this lifeline for the Palestinian people in Gaza, and we will not fail. We continue proceeding because we know that the whole world is with us.
Just seeing how tired Thiago looks lets you know that these folks are really deeply committed in such a real way. I did a live with 2 folks on the flotilla yesterday, so make sure you go to my Instagram and check those out. I'm also going to download and upload them here to YouTube and to my Patreon with Yara Moderelli, and I have to say her name like that every time, and with Greg Stoker. And, they've been on this boat. I mean, Greg Greg in deep gallows humor was like, man, I've been on this boat so long, prison would be a shift. Prison would be a change. I'm just like, I can't being on a boat for 4 weeks. I don't know if I could do it, y'all. That I think in my mind I could do it, but in real time, I don't know if I could do it. Greg said I haven't showered in 6 days. That's a lot of body not to shower. That man is 6'4". That's a lot of body not to shower. Ooh, child. At least the vagina is self-cleaning. But that doesn't mean it doesn't, there isn't a tartness that would be acquired from the rest of the body. Ugh. Anywho, speaking of Greg Stoker, he provided this update as well from the flotilla. And every time you think Israel cannot get cornier, they're like, aha!
A bunch of Israeli pro-famine activists are launching a counter-flotilla to the global Summud flotilla to sail in front of the U.S. Embassy in Tel Aviv in an act of extreme performative activism. Currently, over 75 Israeli boat owners have already registered for Friday's flotilla, and they're pulling in friends. The Israeli Yachting Association and boat companies are joining too. So when I say things like the genocide in Palestine is a transnational war on the working class, this is kind of what I'm referring to. So a bunch of moneyed colonial genocidal yacht owners are sailing in front of the embassy of their imperial daddy to just keep the violence going and make sure the ethnic cleansing is complete. And let's talk about the difference in material conditions too. So they've got yachts. They already have more boats than we do. We've got these barely seaworthy vessels that we cobbled together in 2 months since the final solution was being enacted in Gaza, attempting to establish a humanitarian corridor into a people facing annihilation for real estate interests, natural gas exploitation, and the list goes on. So we're sailing with baby formula and ancient sea hulks, and they're sailing in yachts to appeal to the imperial power structure that denies that baby formula. So I guess if you're looking for a better example of transnational class struggle, be hard pressed to find a better one. Free Palestine.
That boat got Greg giving us Prince Charming jaw. The slimness got that hard line jaw popping out. We got to summon the orcas, y'all. I saw a video the other day of a sister on the edge of a boat, and the whales was coming up. The whales was like, what's that? What's that? I seen it. Like a 27-inch Zenith. Believe it. Yep. Miss Latia, we ain't seen you in a minute. How you doing, girl? How you doing? So we're going to stay positive. We're going to go outside. We're going to go outside. I would love for us all to go outside at the same time. So they're 16 hours away from Hegseth'S. I was about to attempt to do math, and then I remembered I don't do math. So I'm going to just say this. I'm going to go outside tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern, and I am going to conjure the vibration of protection that I am able to do with the skills I have. I'm still learning. I'm a student, but I'm going to make that my effort. So, I will hope that you all will be outside at 7 p.m. Eastern as well. Someone just said that vaginas are not self-cleaning. They are. One of the biggest lies as a young woman was being told that I need to use smelly soaps and stuff like that. Why would my vagina smell like Japanese cherry blossoms? Bath and Body Works. Why? Why would it smell like that? It should it should smell and taste like cucumber. Just clean and clear. Okay? Clean and clear. So, you don't need all of that. The only douche that you should really use if you ever need to is you can use a pH balance douche that helps get the pH right. And that would be a homeopath, like the homeopathic ones. Okay. But putting all that in there, I used to be like, why am I getting all these yeast infections? Baby, because that ain't supposed to be over there. That ain't supposed to be over there. Damp cloth. Swoosh it up. Okay. But keep that balance. And then someone said you tried the pineapple juice and get your life. And I did, Rishla. That's a true story. I was dating somebody who was a terrible person. Notice how I always say who is a terrible person. I haven't only dated terrible people, but this person was a terrible person. And he told me that he could not bring me to climax with his mouth because I, quote unquote, tasted funny. This sent me into a level of insecurity that sent me to the doctor. And I was like, is there something I need to do? And she was like, ain't nothing wrong with your joint. He must not have the skills. Ain't nothing wrong with your joint. What? Because he was like, you should try pineapples. She was like, why would your vagina taste like pineapples? Well, why would that be something that you would want? I would actually be concerned if I went down there and I got a whiff of pineapple, I would be concerned that there was a deeper issue. And so, that's when I realized, oh, I'll just have to fake it. But these are the things that young women do to like try to like appease men and try to like keep the peace and whatnot. So I just like faked it. Like, and he was like, see, it must be the pineapples. I'm like, no, fool. There was no pineapples. You literally didn't make anything happen. What are we talking about? And since I know you would like tea and gossip here, they weren't saying to put pineapple inside. They were saying to drink copious amounts of pineapple juice, which I did. Someone said, oh, and the same person was like, oh my God, never mind. It's early. Okay. But this is the same person who one time he was like, so I used to try and cook for these men because I wanted them to like see me as domesticated and, not just as like this brilliant, artistic, intellectual, but no, I can be a good girlfriend, wife too. Like that was the dance I was doing to try to like, so I decided, so I was cooking dinner for us and he was on his way over and he was like, yeah, when he got to the house, the dinner was like in the oven. And he was like, I'm hungry right now though. So I need to get something to eat right now. And I was like, it'll be ready in like 15 minutes. And he was like, no, I'm just hungry right now. So I'm like, ugh. Okay, fine. So we go out to the block and he was like, I'm going to go get something from Subway. Okay. Now I know that he liked grape juice. Again, me wanting to please my man. I go and buy him a bottle of grape juice from the corner store. When I meet him at Subway, he's like, it's not the right one. I wanted ruby red. Oh. Nonetheless, we then go to Taco Bell because now I feel compelled to get something as well because, if he's getting something, I'll get something. So I'm like, okay, I'll go get a taco. So we go to Taco Bell, which is like literally next door. So I'm standing in line and he goes and sits down. And I'm ordering my food. And then I look over at him and he says, you good? Now, anybody from New York knows you good has many meanings. But if I'm in line where I'm going to have to pay for something and you say you good, that's you saying I have no intention of paying for this. So I pay for my tacos. And then I was like, I go over to him. I was like, you really could have paid for my food since I'm making you food at home. And he was like, and so he didn't say nothing. Right. So now we go down because I guess at this point, I'm just like, I guess we're going to eat this food out here. So we go down to sit down on a bench and he just is like, I just got to be honest. Like, I can't be in this relationship with you if you expect me to pay for everything. Now, this man, I was 28, and this man was a 36-year-old dean of a middle school. All right. He was a 36-year-old dean of a middle school. He was a retired military man. He was from Yonkers. He was what's it called? Styles P's cousin. And he was like, I'm not gonna go along with this if you expect me to pay for everything. And I was just like, but again, because I had very low self-esteem, instead of being like, go F yourself, you're just not on my level, I decided to try and diffuse and make it okay. And then he started being weird. And then I was still trying to be with dude. And I remember he then was like, I just think we should break up. And I was like, okay, I mean, that makes me sad, whatever. But he had my stuff at his crib and I kept asking, can you send me my stuff, or can I get my stuff, or can you drop my stuff off? Because there was this dope pair of Adidas that I never got back. It was a dope pair of Adidas that was in there. So then I was like, just a side note, when people say why would you date such losers? It's so belittling. I want y'all to ask yourselves how things sound before you type them. Okay? I want you to ask yourself how things sound before you type them, because it's victim blaming. Why would you date such losers? Versus, what do you think is allowing, why do you think you're allowing these people into your space? That to me is a much more compassionate way of approaching the obvious reality that you're dating losers because you have trauma. You have unresolved trauma. Okay? That's why you're dating losers. So anybody out there who's trying to figure out why you keep dating losers, and this is cross all gender and non-binaries, it's because you have unresolved trauma. Every time. So your unresolved trauma will cause you to allow so much to slide. It will cause you to rationalize so much nonsense, and it will cause you to blame yourself for so much foolery. This is just a reality. So this guy ends up not giving me my stuff back. Now, one night, this is when I was making music. I was recording at at this place, D172, something like that Dame Dash had. And it was me and Ski Beats. Now, y'all know Ski Beats produced Lucchini. This is it. What? Lucchini born from the sky. Let's get rich. What? Okay. So I have this song in my mind that I think is the one, called Man Child. So I lay down Man Child, and it's about him. And I've sang it for you before, and I'll sing it again. Stuck in his ways, walking with his chest out, knows what he ain't, and don't know what to be about. He understands that he could be better, that he could move mountains and be a go-getter. Okay, now this came from the fact that he had this job that was a really good job, but then all of a sudden he switched up and he was trying to hang out with his old cronies in the hood. And I don't know, I guess he felt some type of way that I had a very freewheeling life because I was an artist, and he had a very strict life. He had to get up at 5:30, he had to be at the job, et cetera, et cetera. And I think it really just sparked a sense of unsettlement in him that maybe he wasn't doing the thing that he should be doing. So he started existing as a man child in a promised land. And I can't hold his hand to make him see and make him comprehend that it's all his for the taking. Now, I wish I could remember the rap, but it starts, hangs with idiots and ex-cons, frauds and Mr. Me Too's, and I can never remember after that. Yeah, it is what it is. So yeah, I think he had like, kind of sparked there was like a jealousy that was sparked that I got to like make my own schedule and live my own life, but he had to like adhere to this rigidity. And whenever you're seeing somebody and they start talking about if only, get out of there. If only is the precursor to nonsense, because what it ends up leading into is resentment. And when they start seeing, because I'm not an if only, right? Like I don't exist in if only. I'll be like, unless it's like if only Palestine could be free. But when it comes to my own life, it's not if only. I had to stop doing that a long time ago. Man, if I could just, because the minute you start with I could just, you're setting yourself up, because it's never going to be enough. If I could just, it's never going to be enough. Ever. Not for you, not for them. It's not. So once you hear if only, his if only was, if only I could work for the NBA. It was going to be different. I don't know. I think you should just get focused on working for the NBA if that's what you want. But if you start with if only, you're going to be disappointed, because it's never what you think. I've had many if onlys in my life, and that's when I had to stop with if only. I had to stop with if only. Okay. I had to stop. So, people can bring out the best and the worst in you. And if you're an artist, why was my shirt tripping you out the whole show? It has books. If you're an artist, make it into content, y'all. Make it into content. Make it into content. So let's do that. Let's make that into content. Let's do our word of the day. Let's do our let's do our question, our bonus question. Let's just make that into content.
Bonus question. Bonus question. Bonus question. Bonus question. BONUSQUESTION. Bonus question.
All right. This week's bonus question is, what is, let me think about it. Wait. Today's bonus question is, how has, basically I want to say like, how has an ex pushed you to be better? How has an ex pushed you to be better? Because I can tell you that after him, I was like, actually, he was the one that really made me stop saying if only. Because I watched him like try and base his whole future on something that wasn't even it wasn't even something he was like working towards at the time. For his sake, I hope he eventually made it there. By the way, he threw away my stuff. I never got my Adidas back. And after I recorded Manchild, this is dead honest truth. After I recorded Manchild, I'm on my way to the train station and he texts me. He may have even emailed me, actually, now that I think about it. And I hadn't heard from him. And he emailed me and said, I think it would be a good idea for us to get together. And I was so proud of myself because my response was, hold on. I don't think that would be a good idea. I don't think that would be a good idea. I love, there's always a pick me in here. My exes still love me. Good for you, girl. The question is, how has an ex pushed you to be better? whether it was a breakup that made you treat yourself better, whether it was a breakup that made you treat others better, whether it was something that you saw in them that made you say, you know what, I'm going to do this, etc. Because at the end of the day, everything in life can be made valuable by finding the lesson in it. If we're not doing that, what's the point? What's the point? And that's this week's bonus question. All right. Now, I want to remind you all that after the show, all of our SEAL Squad folks are going to head on over to the after show kickback. It's going down right here. Well, right there on Patreon. So make sure to sign up at Patreon and support your girl, Amanda Seals. That would be me. If you also want to support me, then you can get our latest drop at AmandaLand Exports, which includes the AmandaLand notebook, as well as, the AmandaLand Word of the Day logbook. There's also the AmandaLander button. There's the AmandaLander pin, the Views for AmandaLand pin. And you are also going to be able to get the big ass AmandaLander sticker. So all of those things are available right now. And remember, anytime you purchase any of these items, anytime you are subscribing to my Patreon, you are supporting my work, and my work includes work online, work in the community, and work at large. So I hope that you all will consider doing so. Let's get into a public SEALs announcement. AmandaLand. PSA. I am tired of the phrase Black people gotta stick together right now, because it is disingenuous. I talked about this last week and I'm going to say it again. Sticking together should not be designed based on identity politics. Sticking together requires a bond. And when we are looking at bonds in terms of glue that adhere and hold things together, there's chemical bonds that are stronger than others. Gorilla Glue Girl learned this the hard way. You know how they got her scalp, how they got that glue off her scalp? Chemistry. Literally chemistry. A physician who did really well in organic chemistry found what the compound was for Gorilla Glue and was able to offset it by using counter compounds. Here we are as humans, and we are biological. You know, when we talk about like having chemistry with folks, that's a real thing. And my chemistry with you is not going to solely be based on my Blackness. That's a part of it, just like hydrogen is a part of the chemical compound of water, but it's not the whole thing. So when I hear people say, we got to stick together, who have actively, by the way, not stuck beside me, I'm like, who are you talking to? I want to stick with people who we have an actual substantive chemical bond, where there is a unifying force there, that when somebody comes to find the counter bond, it's not going to be as easy to break us up. It's not going to be as easy as it was for the doctor to find the counter bond for Gorilla Glue. I want to create bonds with folks in coalition that aren't so easily broken down, whether it be by money or access or status or insecurity or embarrassment, etc. And what I've seen over the last 2 years in particular is folks who are absolutely not chemically aligned with me, trying to shame me into being into some falsehood version of bonding with them. I don't want to be with you. You ain't built like my chemical compound. Leave me alone. And a lot of these people, they ain't even done any type of effort to find out how my chemical compound is made up. And I understand that in order for us to have real coalition building moving forward, that is what we need to be doing. We need to be understanding how are we made? How is each other? What makes up each other? We got to hear that from one of our guests today and from both of our guests today. We got to hear what they're made up of. What do they consist of? What are their components? How did they get there? How did they get here? And to be quite honest, a lot of folks ain't even done the self-reflective work to know what they made of, let alone to be able to know who they connect to. So don't come at me, miss me with all Black folks need to stick together right now, because that's y'all's version for y'all need to be quiet and stop calling out Black people for doing bullshit. And I ain't the one. If you do bullshit, I don't care what color you are, I'm going to call you on it. The same way that when you do dopeness, I'm going to lift you up. Every time.
PSA.
Hey, come on now. Let's get out of here. Show your love. Ooh, no. Show your love. Show your love, y'all. Drop a super in the chat. Hit me up on Cash App. Thank you to everybody who joined the show today. We had a high viewership today. I really appreciate everybody joining us. My replay crew, thank you for watching the show and being there for us, even though you couldn't be there with the live. Big ups to all of our podcast listeners. We appreciate you as well. Shout out to our guests, Trymaine Lee and Mark Wayne. You know, I just feel so lucky to be having so often so many high quality folks that want to share their time and their knowledge with not just me, but with y'all as well. I think we need to really continue to uplift that. You know, people will say all the time, Amanda, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I consider that to be one of the most important things I'm doing is introducing y'all to other voices, other perspectives, and, just bringing knowledge into your space that you may not have considered before. Because the real goal is to connect us to ourselves in a way that allows us to have a sense of self that is grounded, right? Because when we have a grounded sense of self, we have so much of an easier time creating space to connect with others. Now, make sure to do what Mark said and go to the Black Panther Party site and check out his United Sovereignty plan on how you can, put together some building coalition spaces in your neighborhood. It was a very clear plan that had very clear objectives and instructions. And I think that's what a lot of people are calling for. So thank you to Mark Wayne for putting that together. Shout out Stephanie, got to stay for the whole show today. We love it. Eric, you're right. Revolution begins in the body. So thank you all again for being here and supporting your girl. We of course have the Views for AmandaLand goods on sale. And I'm going to start promoting What Would the Ancestors Say? And I'm going to be doing lives where I'm going to be bringing people on to talk about how they feel their ancestors would feel about now. What I want to be talking to you all. What do you think your ancestors would say about now? What type of ancestor are you going to be? So look out for that because I'll be having those on Instagram Live, and I hope to see you all there chiming in. In the meantime, in between time, let's head on over to the after show kickback on Patreon. Everyone, please enjoy the rest of your day. Remember, 6 p.m. Eastern, we're going to stand outside and, lift our energy to send over to protect the Global Summud Flotilla. Also, remember, every Thursday, we don't spend no money. Global strike. There's a global strike today, and we can continue that tomorrow. So hopefully we can get some type of organizing going on around stopping these systems. You know what time it is, y'all.
30 seconds of stillness. Amanda.